Farmers are the ultimate entrepreneurs. You're on your own, doing business with players who are vastly larger and have more information and more. Farmers are the ultimate entrepreneurs. You're on your own, doing business with players who are vastly larger and have more information and more power than your individual operation.
When commodity prices are taking a nosedive and your input costs continue to stay high, it places all the burden on the farmers.
FBN Direct creates a new way for farms to buy the critical inputs that you need to grow your crops. And what FBN Direct does is connects you directly with manufacturers from thousands of products, from fertilizers, chemicals, seeds, and even the services your farm needs to realize the best prices that FBN can generate across our national network.
FBN Direct just seemed like a really good program from the get-go. I like being able to see a price online and just know that that's what I'm going to pay.
You don't have to call a salesman, and that salesman have to talk to his boss and then get back to you to decide what the price is.
Pricing was straightforward. I mean, you know, you have it on your computer screen or on your phone.
Right out front and open for you to see, and what we've found so far is a very fair price.
You know that when you go into FBN, the price is the price. It doesn't matter if you're 50 acres or 50,000 acres. You get the power of being part of the FBN network in generating the best prices that FBN can access nationwide.
FBN empowers the farmer to be able to make an educated decision. You know, this is a very easy and seamless process. You purchased it and it showed up on a truck. It worked great.
And I can really use that to drill into, okay, where is my cost benefit?
On just our chemicals we use in our pulses, we did save $17,000 last year. There's about 50% price reduction compared to what we could buy it locally for.
Probably did 50% of our crop inputs with FBN, and this year I ordered basically all of our crop protection needs through FBN.
Pretty easy decision for me to make, you know. I bought it all through FBN.
Saving 20 to 30% on your chemical needs, that's automatic. You definitely notice it in your pocket. It's made other companies sharpen their pencil.
The last few years have been tough in the commodity markets, so profitability can be a real challenge. But some of the fastest growing areas and highest demand areas in food are around specialty and attribute specific crops. Those create completely new opportunities for you. Buyers can be looking for very specific things. That might be an agronomic practice or a crop attribute. Whether you're already growing those crops or you want to consider growing those crops, they create a way to diversify your farm's income and realize higher profit potential.
About 6 years ago, we got a specialty contract raising conventional corn for the Japanese beer market. Those contracts disappeared over time. When FBN came up with the contract for conventional corn, the economics were there. It fit into our rotation very well, so that was a no-brainer for us.
What we're doing is working with buyers from all over the world who want specific crops. We go out, we find the buyers, we generate the demand, and then we bring you multiple opportunities so you can capture premiums in the market. What this does is it means you don't have to plant a commodity. you can plant for the product that people are wanting to buy, meaning more dollars back to your acre.
We've got two different production contracts, one with the calyx beans and also with the non-GMO corn. The premiums that are in the production contracts with FBN can make the difference of a profit or a loss.
Just raising non-GMO conventional corn, that's about a $20 to $32 advantage per year per acre for us. When you throw on the FBN contract on top of that, it's north of $92 a year, beyond raising number 2 yellow corn.
So what FBN does is it helps generate that demand, create the right contracts for you, and then helps you grow for that specific attribute. FBN has merchandising experts, logistics experts, agronomic support, experts on seed and chemical. So as a farmer, what you get is a price guarantee on the crop. You get a contract up front, the inputs you need, the seeds, the fertilizer, the chemical, the financing, and even support with the logistics. When it comes to your bottom line, you have to look holistically at your profitability. It's not just your yield or the prices you're getting in the market, but how are you managing your whole operations cost? And that's the goal with a production contract. All of that gives you more security when you go to produce a crop. So we have production contracts in corn, soybeans, canola, chickpeas, field peas, yellow peas, and all manners of pulse crops. If you're growing these crops today or you're interested in growing them, check out the FBN programs. They can provide a great way to diversify your farm and increase your profit potential.
And we're live at the 2019 Farmer to Farmer event here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is the 5th annual Farmer to Farmer, but we're so excited to have you here on the live stream for the first time ever. And I'm super excited to introduce you to my co-host. This is Zach Johnson. You might recognize him. He's kind of famous. Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Apparently I'm kind of famous. You have a super official intro, and I'm not gifted with that ability, but I'm excited to be here at the show. For those who don't know me, I've got an online social media presence known as the Minnesota Millennial Farmer or the Millennial Farmer. I'm really excited to be here at Farmer to Farmer 5. This place is massive this year. When I walked in yesterday, I couldn't believe how big it is compared to just last year. I mean, it's doubled in size. People are filing in right now. Everybody's starting to have a pretty good time.
Absolutely. I can't believe that Zach really downplayed his online presence. We actually have a quick clip to show you a little bit more about Zach if you haven't been to his YouTube channel yet. We'll get that video queued up for you right away.
Just kidding.
Yeah. He's actually not on YouTube at all, it turns out. This is all a joke.
I also have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, who does, really? So, Zach, tell us a little bit more. Why are you here at Farmer to Farmer this year? What are you excited about?
I'm excited. The biggest thing for me is the networking. Just talking to farmers that are farmers but do it differently than I do it. Maybe they come from a different geography, they grow different crops, or they just have a different mindset, different mentality. For me as a farmer, somebody who loves agriculture, I love learning what other people have success with and have difficulties with, and just trying to figure out, what works for guys and what doesn't, and always try to continue learning and really just enjoy, as they say, the power of the network.
Absolutely. I'm actually a freelance agriculture and rural issues reporter, and in my travels across the country, I'm always so impressed by farmers' ability to kind of, every farm is different. Like county to county, farms are not the same, but farmers, you're from Minnesota, farmers from Oregon, farmers from Maine, farmers from, Alabama can meet and talk and find things to relate to. What's that like?
Right. It's awesome. Farmers are generally really, really passionate about what we do. And in the end, what we do is grow the food, fiber, and fuel for the world. And that's what we love to do. And we all do it a little bit differently, as I said. And like you were saying, a farmer from Oregon or California versus Minnesota, Montana, wherever. Farming all over the world is so diverse, and it's such a unique industry. And so that's part of the fun with meeting up with people and talking to other farmers.
Absolutely. We're here, the theme of this year's conference is beating the odds. And Zach, 2019, I think to put it very, very lightly, was a challenging year for most farmers. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what does beating the odds mean to you on your farm?
Beating the odds to me, I guess, just means doing everything you can to control what you can control. And really taking that stance as a manager of a farm, treating it as a business, and just, as I say, control the things you can control, do the best you can with what you have, and really always try to, move up the ladder and take the next step to be a better manager, be a better farmer.
Absolutely. I think, you know, it's the farmer as farmer, but also as farm CEO, and it's a fascinating thing to see. There's so many farmers here at Farmer2Farmer that kind of embody that, and it's amazing to see.
Yep.
I think one of the interesting things about Farmer2Farmer as well is you're not going to see a bunch of farmers up on the, well, there are a bunch of farmers up on the stage, but you're also going to see Navy SEALs,
Yep.
you know, the former athletics manager of the A's.
Yep.
What do those guys teach you?
You know, when I watch guys at that level talk, what I like to do is try to sort of twist it into my own way of thinking and try and bring the principles of what they're talking about into how I run my business, how I run my farm, and how I can utilize what they're talking about in my life. And so I'm excited to see Marcus Luttrell talk tonight and listen to his story. I'm sure that's going to be really powerful. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. There's a ton of information yet to come here on the live stream here at Farmer2Farmer in Omaha. We actually have some fun word from our sponsors to talk to you about in the meantime, but we'll be right back.
Hey guys, my name is Zach Johnson. You might recognize me as the actor who plays the Minnesota Millennial Farmer on the Millennial Farmer YouTube channel. I'm a 5th generation corn and soybean farmer from west central Minnesota. My wife and I just bought the farmhouse from my parents about 1 year ago, and we're enjoying raising our 3 kids here on the farm where I grew up. There we go. I never doubted it. I love being a member of FBN because they have a true farmers first mentality. They network with the farmers, we can collaborate and strengthen our position as farmers, which continues to become more and more important all the time. I am really excited to be down here for Farmer2Farmer once again. Whether you guys are down here with us in Omaha or you're following along via the live stream, thank you and have fun. You okay? Are you okay?
All right, now you guys know a little bit more about me. We're going to cut to some more commercials here. When we come back, we're actually going to talk with Charles Barron, one of the co-founders of the company.
To be a farmer, you gotta love doing what you do, but you gotta figure out how to make a living at it.
It is a privilege to be able to farm.
It's about the legacy I'm trimming the trees that my grandparents put in, putting new roofs on the grain bins that they put up. That gives me goosebumps.
The way the agricultural industry is structured, I think, does place most of the burden on the farmers, most of the risk. The infrastructure that we have to have on our farms just to run our own operation is pretty incredible.
Our biggest challenge right now is our margin, try to turn a profit.
We have to be able to be the most productive on each of those acres, produce more and more every year to keep up with demand.
Every day there's a different challenge, and you can't just isolate and focus on one.
Farmers are the ultimate entrepreneurs. You're on your own managing a complex business, doing business with players who are vastly larger and have more information and more power than your individual operation. So what Farmers Business Network does is levels the playing field by creating a total profit system for your farm. The key to farming profitably is by farming connected with thousands of other growers all across the country, using advanced information and doing business in a fundamentally new way.
Used to be just a simple spreadsheet could handle about everything, and now you could have endless amounts of data that you can produce off of your farm.
Your data is the key to unlocking what's actually happening on your farm. What Farmers Business Network is doing is looking at all the data from each of your fields. All of that data is organized, cleaned, benchmarked, and analyzed, which allows you to plug your data in with thousands of other growers. So instead of looking at just one field, you now can look at hundreds of thousands of acres in conditions very similar to your own farm.
That cumulative power of all the other farmers providing their data, just like what we did, allows the science then to give us information, say, hey, if you're going to place the hybrid on this field, here's your best chance to reach your maximum potential.
It gives you objective information, not what some company is telling you or wants you to see.
It's finally more than just a binder on a shelf. The harvest maps are critical.
Benchmarking is useful because it's telling us exactly what our potential is in our area.
The more local data you can have, the better off your information is going to be.
And what Seed Finder does is actually lets you look at how seeds are performing on thousands of fields, and you can see how those seeds respond to things like population or rotational practices.
What the Seed Finder did was allow us to try a few new things, and the amount of data that's there gave me a great amount of confidence to change my mind and make a different decision.
FBN Direct creates a new way for farms to buy the critical inputs that you need to help you save money. What FBN Direct does is connects you directly with manufacturers from thousands of products, from fertilizers, chemicals, seeds, and even the services your farm needs to realize the best prices that FBN can generate across our national network.
FBN Direct just seemed like a really good program from the get-go. I like being able to see a price online and just know that that's what I'm going to pay.
You don't have to call a salesman, and that salesman have to talk to his boss and then get back to you to decide what the price is.
Pricing was straightforward. I mean, you know, you have it on your computer screen or on your phone.
Right out front and open for you to see, and what we've found so far is a very fair price.
You know that when you go into FBN, the price is the price. It doesn't matter if you're 50 acres or 50,000 acres. You get the power of being part of the FBN network in generating the best prices that FBN can access nationwide.
The financing was very easy to acquire, very seamless.
It's been a real educational piece for me to feel more confident in what I'm doing with my spraying applications.
On just our chemicals we use in our pulses, we did save $17,000 last year.
It saved me $70,000 to $80,000. Saving 20 to 30% on your chemical needs, that's automatic. You definitely notice it in your pocket. It's made other companies sharpen their pencil.
Crop marketing can be a real pain. You've got to identify prices in your area, call around to elevators, or constantly be listening and monitoring price updates and pricing feeds from a variety of different sources. And what FBN does is it automatically does all that price discovery and the math of profitability for you. It helps you get the best prices for all of your crops. Too often, farmers are only looking at the buyers right in their immediate vicinity. And it turns out, if you just expand your radius a little bit, you can actually realize much higher profits. So with FBN Profit Center, you just plug in your cost of production, your shipping and your storage costs, and it taps into a network of thousands of buyers to identify which of those bids are actually going to realize you the most profit.
So you have more options out there of places to deliver crop to get better pricing. That would help the farmer, I think, secure better margins in their business.
Not only are we helping you get better prices locally, but we're actually getting you access to a new network of buyers around the world who are willing to bring premium prices and better offers for your unique crop.
They're getting the end buyer to commit to your product and put some money down.
Growing a non-GMO soybean, we're probably going to land somewhere between $75 to $100 an acre of value.
Talking anywhere from $20 to $40 an acre that it's going to save me. It takes a lot of the risk off the table.
What FBN's doing is creating a better system for farmers where we're your partner, taking risk with you and not putting risk onto you. And all of this is creating a totally new way for farms to do business. It's online, it's connected, it's networked with thousands of the very best growers, and it's creating a system that's fairer and more transparent so you can grow the best crops, realize the most profits, and manage your family business exactly the way you want.
Welcome back to the Farmer to Farmer 5 live stream. We're here in Omaha, welcoming everyone back. So excited to have you here. Lucky to have Charles Barron with us. He is a co-founder here at FBN. Charles, we're here at Farmer to Farmer. Give us a little preview. What can folks be expecting?
Well, good to be with you. This is a lot of fun. I mean, this is the first time we've been able to do it all live too, which is really fun. So Farmer to Farmer is the time where we get to bring thousands of farms from, I mean, we have people coming in from northern Alberta, from Washington State, Florida, East Coast. The furthest away someone's traveling, I think, is Palmer, Alaska. Farming oats and hay in Palmer, Alaska, coming to Omaha. So, you know, it's a great, you know, I guess if you're in Alaska, Omaha is like a summer vacation right now.
It's a tropical destination.
Right.
It's beautiful this time of year.
Well, that's what I was telling everybody. Is, you know, they'd say, oh, I don't want, you know, Canada to Omaha, I want to go to Florida. I said, look, it's, you know, you're getting 40 degrees.
Right.
You'll be happy.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So, so people coming in from everywhere. I mean, just all over. I think we have people from India, China, all over Europe, Africa, Brazil, Australia, coming in as well. And the whole point is to create a venue where farmers just get to, you know, have no constraints, no restrictions, and really talk about what's going on in ag in a positive way. There's a lot of tough things going on. There's a lot of difficult issues. They need to be addressed. There's things technology can do. There's things networks can do. There's things policy can do. But you know, you got to have hard conversations, and that's kind of the whole point of Farmer to Farmer.
Absolutely.
So the theme of the show this year is Beat the Odds.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that and what that means for farmers and for FBN?
Well, beating the odds for us, it really goes back to number one, just how are you going to adapt to a very difficult situation? You know, the last year,
such as 2019.
Such as 2019. It was a crazy year,
yep.
As you guys experienced in many ways. A lot of farmers aren't here because they're still harvesting, or they've got snow on the ground. They're trying to, you know, get the last of the corn out. So, you know, from start to finish, this has been a tough one. So, you know, with that in mind, what FBN's always been about is kind of objective analytical thinking. And for us, that's the most perfect way of describing that philosophy is the concept of Moneyball. And Moneyball is about how do you look at outcomes as opposed to using conventional wisdoms. And in baseball, it was instead of going and hitting home runs and chasing batting averages, it's realizing that a walk is as good as a single.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get a walk, and if you've got a guy who's a walk machine, that's actually the mechanism and the outcome that you're trying to achieve. You're trying to put runners on base. And that kind of thinking applies perfectly to farming. When you have difficult situations, when you are overmatched with resources, when you have competitors who are vastly superior in terms of their market power, their informational power, you have to basically change the whole game that you're playing. You can't play by the same rules. You have to change the game. And that's what Moneyball taught sports, and that's how the Oakland A's have been able to be such a dominant franchise. Now, that's why we have Billy Beane coming tomorrow. So what Beating the Odds is all about for us as a conference and event is, okay, how do you apply Moneyball to farming? How do you apply it in input selection? How do you apply it in financing, in insurance, in purchasing, in crop marketing, in decision making? There's dozens and dozens and dozens of ways that just changing your mindset about how you make decisions can benefit the operation. And also, how do you apply skepticism in the right ways? When is it a conventional wisdom conventional wisdom for a good reason, and when is it something to be highly skeptical about because the data and the information may show you a different path.
Sure.
That's what the event's going to be all about. So that's kind of what it goes back to. The very first time we did Farmer2Farmer, we called it Moneyball Farming, and we had Paul D. Podesta, who had worked with Billy Bean, and it was a lot of fun. And so we're coming back to that. This is the 5th one, and we're coming back to that because this is now 8 times the size of the first one, and so it's really, really fun. Yeah, it's exciting.
And listen, I don't know if people have heard, but there are 16 farmer panels going on tomorrow from farmers all over the country, all over the world, on stage talking to other farmers about the season that was, about stuff that they're doing on their farm, regenerative farming, hemp, everything. Zach, what panels are you going to go to? You're actually on some of them. And then Charles, talk to us a little bit about why is kind of raising farmers' voices a priority for FBN?
Yep.
I'm obviously going to go to the social media panel and the YouTube revolution. I'll be at that one. That's going to be fun. I'm going to be stuck here at the live desk for a lot of it. But I would like to see the hemp one. That one really interests me to see where that goes and see what they say.
Yeah, the hemp's really interesting because, here you've got a brand new crop. You have a huge need for growers to diversify. The revenue potential is really exciting if you can get through all the steps and if you have actually a valid buyer on the other side, if the market is actually there. Hemp can be such a phenomenal crop for a whole host of reasons. The fiber can go into industrial products, it can go into clothing, go into paper, the seeds can go into protein, you can get the CBD oil. CBD is going into a whole range of products. So the demand is extreme. And then the challenge for producers is this is a crop that's now 2 years old as a legal crop. It's going into basically its 2nd year. How do you navigate that?
Right.
And is it the Wild West, or is it something that actually is manageable that you can actually get started in? So we're really, that discussion is going to be great. The National Hemp Association's here, a great company called Open Book Extracts, and some growers who are getting involved too. So yeah, that one's going to be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
What other panels are you keeping track of, Charles? I know you've got your eye on some of them.
Well, I mean, the one I tell, if you haven't been and you want to know what data science, you go hear the data science talk. That's just awesome because you see data science put into action, and Matt Meisner, who started the analytics system of FBN, will show live kind of analytics in action and how you actually get to better outcomes and better answers using the wisdom of the crowds and using statistical approaches. It's really fascinating. So that's awesome. Everyone needs to do that one. The women's leadership one is going to be great. Got a good group there. The trade panel, we have Fox Business hosting that. This is a super timely discussion about that with the MCA moving forward. So I'm looking forward to that. I think probably all of them. I mean, also the cattle one. I'm very interested. I'm really interested in learning more about the livestock market, and we're creating a space where producers are really going to kind of talk about the real challenges and frustrations in the industry and what they want to see change. So that one's happening tomorrow with Jared McDaniel and a number of other ranchers. So yeah, there's a lot of fun. It's going to be good. Yeah.
What about the speaker lineup?
What do we got coming up?
Yeah.
Well, tonight is Marcus Luttrell. And he's a U.S. Navy SEAL and wrote the book Lone Survivor. Just a totally mind-blowing story of what he went through and his experiences. And I think it's relevant for everybody because, look at what you guys were dealing with this year, right? And so many farmers face, really dire situations, late planting, totally delayed harvest, floods. It was extreme. And how do you carry on through that? A lot of farms really struggled. So there's a mental aspect to that. There's a psychology, and also staying mentally healthy, through all that is really, really key. So Marcus, and then tomorrow we have Secretary Perdue coming, and it's going to be interesting to see what he says because he's got, the MCA announcement just happened today, so that's going to be fascinating. And then Billy Bean from the Oakland A's, and I am personally extremely excited to hear Billy Bean. I'm a Bay Area native and grew up with the Bash brothers, with Canseco and Mark McGuire, well before the Moneyball era. But Moneyball has changed everything and was part of the birth of FBN as well. So yeah, it's going to be great. And then after that, we've got 50 farmers, a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's going to be wild.
It's going to be nuts,
Yeah.
especially because FBN's a bit notorious for doing some big announcements at Farmer2Farmer.
Yeah.
You're here on the live stream. Give our live stream viewers a little taste of what might be in store.
Well, we got some cool stuff in order. You know, we have some brand new digital systems, basically, or what kind of questions are you able to answer when you aggregate data, right? In the past, we've been able to do things like look at price transparency. When farmers shared prices, you realized how extremely unfair the market was treating farmers, and their farmers had a huge opportunity to save money. We were able to uncover things like seed relabeling, which was a tremendously, bad problem for a lot of producers, where they're getting sold a product, not knowing what the product is, not realizing that product is available from 15 other places for a lot less money. So those are the kind of things analytics has helped reveal. And we have a couple others that it's starting to help reveal as well. So we can start looking at chemicals and how well do products actually perform. We can start looking at fertilizers. All those are now being enabled by some new analytical capabilities that we developed. So there's some cool stuff coming there. We have a whole new set of crop marketing systems. Very cool. The seed announcement's going to be great. That's probably the one I'm most excited about. And some also just fundamentally new setups for FBN. People think about FBN as an online-only company, and we're going to show some things tomorrow about how that's different and how it's changing in a huge way in the next year. And much more, and so much more.
It's never ending.
It never ends. It takes me about an hour to get through it, which is why I don't want to. So.
Something that live stream viewers can actually watch tomorrow,
right.
So make sure you tune back in for that. But I have a question for both of you, which is, Zach's already talked about how so much of this conference is about networking, is about sitting down and talking to other farmers. What are you guys going to talk to other farmers about while you're here?
Everything. And I don't just sit down and talk to farmers. Sometimes I stand up and talk to them as well. I'm going to talk to everybody I can, because it's going to be a good time. I mean, you can see how much it's picking up here. Everybody's filing in.
Right.
This is going to be a lot of fun for the next couple days.
Yeah. I think one of the things people always say is like, a lot of times in farming, you go to local events or regional events. There'll be a Minnesota show or a North Dakota thing, but it's rare that you get the chance to get cotton growers and vegetable growers and orchard folks and Canadians and
then you put them all in a room together.
Right.
And you crack a couple of cold ones, and they never stop talking.
Literally.
And that when I say they, like I'm one of them.
I think there's a lot of folks like that here at FBN. We are definitely some of them, but we're going to actually wrap up here. Thanks again to Charles Barron for sitting down with us here on the live stream. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Thank you, guys.
Healthcare has become one of the most unmanageable expenses on the farm, and farmers have limited options for coverage. That's why we partnered with Lifestyle Health to form FBN Health, farmer-focused affordable health coverage. FBN Health gives you a choice of 4 quality health plans, with options for vision and dental plans. With FBN Health, you have access to an extensive network of healthcare providers and can cover your eligible employees and dependents. If you live in any of these states, visit FBNHealth.com to confirm your eligibility. If you have 2 or more full-time employees or family members and a farm tax ID number, you're eligible to apply. Our Partner Service Center can help you complete some basic forms for each member of your employee group. You'll get a custom rate based on your application. For a lot of farmers, these plans can mean big savings. Our members have saved as much as 45% because we've already negotiated discounted premiums for FBN members. Even if you already have another health plan, you can switch to FBN Health if the rates and coverage are better. So sign up today and get the farmer-focused health coverage you deserve.
I'm a 4th generation farmer. Growing up, it was me and my older brother and my dad and my grandpa basically running the farm.
I grew up in a small farming town and have worked on farms all my life.
I grew up on a dairy farm in west central Minnesota, just a few hours from Sioux Falls.
I was originally going to join the Marine Corps out of high school, ended up going to Southern Illinois University Carbondale, where there I got my bachelor's in ag business economics.
We've really got a unique culture here, and it's very much a national team. These are employees from farming communities all over the United States.
Really understanding what each individual operation goes through from day to day is just extremely important.
I feel like I can relate to a lot of these guys.
I put myself in their shoes every day.
That's one of the coolest things when you can save somebody money just in a 30-second conversation, just talking about chem pricing.
It's nice knowing that we can help people stay going for generations to come.
I want to be here to help keep those farms around in the family for another 70 years so that people's kids and grandkids can still be farming that same ground.
We're constantly looking for those areas where we can add margin back to the farmer.
One of the things that we always talk about is just farmers being independent and farmers being able to go and say, all right, I'm going to use the information, especially the information that we give them. If they can find it or if they can get a better price on it, that's definitely something we push, and I really enjoy that because it just helps the farmer out more.
One of my favorite things is they tell me about their family, so I know that, you know, they have a little girl and one of them just had twins, but also that, you know, I was able to save them $30,000. And if we're able to help them, you know, keep their farm afloat from one year into the next and then continue to grow, just makes me feel absolutely wonderful.
I really value my job here because I know not only every day am I coming in, I'm helping my team develop, but I also know every time we sign somebody up, we've helped somebody to become a better farmer, and we're helping them make more sound decisions and really have the ability to start capitalizing on the power of the network.
My name is Jamie Walter. I'm from DeKalb, Illinois. We're primarily a roughly 2,000 acre grain farm. I'm a 5th generation farmer, and then we also have a value added business on farm where we take some of the grain that we grow, and we're a whiskey distillery for the Chicago and Illinois market. We've been a member of FBN for about 4 years. Our initial interest in FBN was the data analytics. It was important to us. You know, we're collecting a lot of data, but we were always looking for ways to use that data to help make meaningful decisions. And the chance to aggregate that data, anonymize it, and search it, that was what really got us interested in the beginning, and it's just grown from there. We use the hybrid analysis both for picking the right hybrids and analyzing what we want on our soils based on yield, et cetera, but we're also very interested in return on investment. So certainly seed cost and the transparency that FBN offers plays into that a big way. We use FBN direct. We've purchased chemicals. We've now purchased a little bit of seed. I'm personally very interested in the healthcare. The value proposition that FBN brings relative to the fee that you pay to be a member is huge. And I'd say there's very little risk in giving it a try. So, you know, join the network, see what's out there, see what you can benefit from it, and help us all grow this thing together.
Welcome back to everybody here at the live stream for Farmer2Farmer 5 in Omaha, Nebraska. Super excited to welcome Tom Staples and Ryan Denis, both with FBN Canada. Canada, it's a country north of here.
Not the 51st state.
Not the 51st state. Give us a little overview. I think maybe a lot of people who are watching are American farmers or related to American agriculture. What happened in Canada in 2019?
What didn't happen in Canada in 2019? Floods. I don't think there was any famine, but it was quite the year for the history books. Started out dry in a lot of places, which is frustrating, but farmers can deal with that. And then it got wet, and it stayed wet, and then the wet started to freeze, turned into snow, and harvest is still going on a lot of places. On top of that, China decided that they're not happy with Canada, and that catches farmers in the middle. And so it's been a fun year.
You're saying that the weather affected the farming in Canada this year?
Apparently. Farming is an outdoor sport.
So it's the same up there?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's actually, it's incredible how the two countries are going through the same thing when it comes to harvest, because we had just the worst harvest we've seen in multiple years. Farmers, it's the same thing going on right now. Right?
Yeah. Huh.
Where do we go from here? What's next for farmers in Canada?
Well,
we assume you guys came with all the solutions, so this is your big moment to go ahead and announce those live.
Let's figure things out right now.
I think the encouraging thing that I'm seeing with our growers is just the focus for 2020 and planning for 2020 as well. So it's nice to see that even though there is work to do, we still need to harvest some crops in the spring. We're gearing up for next year. Growers are gearing up for next year, making their cropping plans, making those decisions, buying their inputs, and just getting ready to go again for next year. So for me, it was a bit of a relief to see that, I would say.
Farmers are eternal optimists, and so they're always saying, well, next year's going to be better. I'm going to be farming next year, so let's start getting ready, and I'm going to put a crop in, I'm going to take a crop off, hopefully.
Yeah.
What are you guys watching most closely in terms of trends, maybe around planting? Anything that you guys think farmers should really be paying attention to?
So far in our post-harvest meetings, we're noticing that there was some really good oat crops this year, so everybody wants to plant oats in Western Canada in 2020. So that's a bit of a watch out for us. We can flood that market pretty quick. And we'll see farmers pull back from pulses in general. So we had a terrible year for pulses. Prices are okay, but not fantastic. So growers are going to pull back and go more into oats, go back into some extra canola acres and wheat in general.
Agriculture is a funny thing. Everybody, when they're making their decisions for next year, they may often base their decisions on what happened last year. So these are all the things I would have changed last year given what I learned. So it's an interesting psychology.
Yeah, and it's the same everywhere. It's the same everywhere. Yep, definitely. Can you talk a little bit about the canola ban?
Yeah, it's definitely hurting our farmers. China bought a large proportion of the seed canola, so they losing that customer on a global basis is tough. Combined with transportation woes, the harvest woes, there's a lot of things that are going on. The growers know that it's politically based.
Sure.
So I think that there's some frustration there because they don't have control of what's going on.
This time it's not the weather.
Well, the weather plays into it though because it's supply and demand. So,
sure. Yeah.
But they don't have control over the politics of the situation, and in a lot of cases, I don't think Canada has a lot of control over it either, because we're caught up in these geopolitical spats.
Right. Right. We know what that's like.
Yeah, it's so funny. Weather, trade, it's almost like farming similar amongst countries.
Once again,
all over the world.
It definitely is. Yeah.
All different yet similar.
Yeah. I heard you say Canada's not the 51st state, but I feel like you're telling me it is, which is confusing. But
ooh, careful with that.
Yikes. We love Canada. I love Canada personally. So talk to us a little bit about I actually had a conversation recently with a meteorologist at USDA who talked about how, the effects of changing weather and Canada's shifting season and what that means for farmers. As things change, year to year, you talked about farmers respond to the year that was, the year that is, but years are changing so quickly on each other that doesn't really make all that much sense. What tools do farmers have to plan for the year that will be instead of the year that was?
I think the name of the game is risk management, which is really Brian's game to help out with farmers with. It's when you've got all this volatility in weather, the volatility that's going to happen over the long term, how do you manage through that? So, Ryan.
Yeah, I think we're seeing crop plans evolve. We're seeing growers that are changing up what they're going to plant because we're suffering with quality and grade issues and all that stuff. So growers are looking for short season crops now. We're trying to figure out how to manage that quality throughout the growing season and throughout harvest. So we're adapting to that because the financial pain that we're seeing is quite severe. So we need to adapt and move with how the weather's moving around.
One difference with Canadian growers, I think, relative to generalized in the U.S., is that they have a lot of crop choices.
Yep.
They have 15 or 16 different crops that they can rotate in at any given year. So I think that a lot of them are evaluating what are ways that I can spread out harvest, which spreads out my risk, what handles dry years, what handles wet years, and mix it all into that rotation.
Absolutely. Do you think that makes farmers in Canada more responsive when, for example, with the canola ban, is there more ability to, in the U.S. when soybeans are hit from China, a lot of farmers, that's their rotation is corn and soybeans. There's not a huge flexibility there. Is that a different story for Canadian farmers?
I'd say so. We're a small country population-wise, so the ability for the government to react with subsidies or so on is diminished relative to the U.S. So I think that they're a little bit more at risk or more exposed to some of that, and that's what's driven the diversity in crop choices we've got. But you can only grow one crop a year, so you roll the dice and hope that you make the right decision.
You only have so many years.
Yeah,
that's right. I was up in Canada earlier this summer, and I got to tour some farms up there. I went to the Canadian Farm Progress Show in Regina. I was really impressed with the agriculture up there. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea just what the scale of agriculture was up there. I mean, it might be different crops and it might be different practices, but it was really interesting to me as a guy who hasn't actually had that chance to see Canadian agriculture before. It was very cool. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, our farm sizes are quite a bit larger than the U.S. Again, it's a generalization.
Yep.
In our customer base, our average customer size is 7,000 acres.
That's the average size.
For the FBN customer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's huge. Do you think, as far as Canadian farmers go, what does that mean in terms of, and Zach, maybe you can respond to this from the U.S. perspective, what does that look like on your farm for this year in terms of managing that potential risk? What do those decisions look like for a farmer right now, December, as they look to a year ahead?
Well, I think farmers that are growing in size, large acres, our financial risks are going up as well. So it's turned more into when we get a profitable price. Of course, we know our break-evens, we know our margin goals. When we see a profitable price, we take it now. Whereas before there might be a little bit more of speculating, looking for something better. But because our costs have gone up so much, we don't have a choice. We have to take that and manage that position now. And just diversifying what we're growing. Many farms were growing 2 or 3 crops. Now we're seeing 4 or 5 crops as well. So a large farm like that probably grows 4 to 5 crops and just manages that risk by growing something different.
Yeah, it's there's even diversification within commodities as well. So canola is a great example. There's regular commodity canola, there's specialty canolas that have a unique oil profile. There may be conventional canola that's for a specific purpose or specific end-use markets. Diversification, that's the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know on our farm we like to really try to concentrate this time of year on cash flow. Putting together that cash flow, figure out what are our input costs, what's our overhead costs, and where do we need to be for marketing our grain, and what do we expect to get for that grain, and then how do we control our costs beyond that, really bring it down to management and try to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's, we don't think of it, but farmers are asset managers.
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
Your grain is an asset, your land is an asset, your cash is an asset.
Yep.
You're going to juggle all of them.
Right.
So true across the country and around the world, especially in Canada. Thanks again to our folks from FBN Canada for joining us here on the live stream. It's exciting to hear what's happening just north of the U.S. border. We'll have more in just a few minutes. Until then, enjoy these remarks.
At the end of the day, we're trying to produce yield. That's kind of the #1 driving factor in any hybrid. But if you can produce the same yield and pay less for the seed, that's a no-brainer.
F2F is quickly becoming known as the brand that's creating new value for farmers by bringing great yield at incredible prices. In less than a year, we've now had nearly 1,000 farmers choose to buy our seed, placed across hundreds of thousands of acres.
I got a 106-day, 109, 110, and 112-day on the conventional side. Talked to the guys down at Farmer2Farmer, talked which ones fit best for our area.
One of the most frequently asked questions I get from the hundreds of farmers that I talk to is, where do your genetics come from? And we want to be able to bring the best value we can to farmers, so we literally are scouring the world for genetics.
The more information, the closer I can get to the guys that are actually developing the hybrids, the better. We talk about inbreds a lot, and that's way more information than I've heard from many other seed corn companies. Let's talk about the parents of that hybrid and how they react in different situations, and what other hybrids I may know came from that female and that male. You can learn a lot from an inbred and from the seed corn production field about the hybrid that you're going to be planting.
We made the decision to buy some F2F seed at Farmer2Farmer. And just talk, it was nice to be able to talk to a lot of the people who kind of spearheaded the whole operation. You know, you talk to the head of the breeding department. You don't get that at any other company. To be able to talk to the people who said, you know, we selected this hybrid for this reason.
There's a lot of options out there. It's just knowing what to buy that's right for your area and your farm and your return on investment. It's always bothered me that the little guy pays the most for everything. So I tried it, and this year I'm 100% FBN corn and bean seed. I'm glad that I'm able to buy it, and I pay the same amount for a bag of seed as a guy that's doing 20,000 acres.
F2F Genetics wants to bring to the farmer the best return on investment proposition of any seed brand in the industry. Your farm has to be profitable, and you need to be here for the future.
The traits were very economical for what we got. The price, it feels like, just keeps going up. And the traits are still what they are, but you know, the price of corn necessarily hasn't increased as much. It's like we're paying quite a bit for maybe something we don't need.
You know, you gotta scout a little bit harder. If you just like to plant your corn and go to the lake, you might as well plant most traits you can, just for peace of mind. But I think with a little bit more management, you can get a lot bigger return on investment.
If you don't need those extra traits in that crop, then why are you paying for them? We've got some non-GMO corn that we're trying. It looks pretty good right now. We're gonna actually stack those up against some pretty tough competition. We split plant both of those with a competitor's corn that we've planted a lot of the last 5 years that we know really well. Even if maybe say it doesn't do quite as good, what's the cost difference between those two hybrids, and what's really going to provide a better return for us?
You know, your return on investment using a conventional corn is really good regardless of whether the commodity price is low or high. You have a great opportunity to make money because you're only using control measures when they're necessary, not just paying for them ahead of time in case it happens. All we have to do is pay attention to proper application timing, proper pest monitoring, and making sure we're doing the right things at the right time.
I would, you know, my test plots every year, I'd plant the conventional, I'd plant a double pro, I'd plant a smart stacks next to each other, and 9 times out of 10, the smart stacks would be the worst of my plot if we don't get some huge insect event. And most of the time, the conventional will be the highest yielding of the same hybrid.
There's a lot of opportunity for you to use a conventional corn and deploy a control measure when needed or when you scout and you see economic threshold. Using a BT as a blanket approach to control all insects really isn't the best way to do it. It certainly is not the most economical way.
F2F is shaking up some people. There's some new hybrids coming that you don't have to buy all the traded stuff. You know, it kind of made sense that we didn't have to, that we could switch to conventional corn. Times have been tough. Every dollar here and there helps. That maybe that was a good place to put some management back into it.
Told everyone we were planting this conventional corn, they're like, what are you doing, all this kind of stuff? I'm like, hey, price, man. The seed that we planted last year, this year, it was about, after I crunched all the numbers, it was about $70,000. It's real money. I mean, it's $70,000 that we could spend it on something else.
On average, we're probably saving about 40% on our seed cost. Versus the straight Roundup, we're probably saving 15 to 20% seed cost on those acres. Versus a Smart Stack hybrid, a conventional from FBN will save you 65% of your seed cost per acre.
We're really excited to bring you F2F Genetics from Farmers Business Network. These aren't your dad's conventional hybrids. These are really top-notch genetics brought to you working on your farm.
Welcome back to the Farmer2Farmer 5 live stream here in Omaha, Nebraska, or as I like to think of it, the Saramach Canada Apology Tour. I do love the country of Canada, and I've proven it by bringing you two Canadian farmers here to join us today. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right, I'm Scott McKinnon. We're from East Central Alberta, Canada. We've got a roughly 8,000 acre mixed grain operation and about a 350 head beef operation. And that's kind of what keeps us busy, and three little girls who are all in 4-H, hockey, dance, baseball, and everything else.
Real people, real family.
Hockey in Canada.
Just a little bit.
I'm shocked.
Beef in Canada, grain in Canada. It's amazing.
Yeah, our penguin farm is downsized.
Okay.
It's hard to farm around the igloos.
So we have to ask, I think, the question that everyone will be wondering, which is, why are you here?
I asked myself that this morning too. So anyways, my name is Robert Semnick. I farm in Smoky Lake, which is northeast Alberta. 4,700 acre grain farm, straight grain. 2 kids, same thing as Scott, very busy life. We are here to learn from our American neighbors, be part of the group, the FBN family. I'm assuming we're calling it a family.
A family and network. You can call it whatever you want. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have a very controversial question for you, which is Canada, 51st state?
Of?
America.
That answers that.
That answers that, yeah.
All right. Well, we heard from our last guest that it's been a bit of a challenging year in Canada. I think farmers in America might be able to understand a little bit about that. What happened in 2019?
Oh, everything. I mean, from trade issues to weather probably being the biggest issue. And it was coast to coast. My wife and I were just at a conference that has farmers from across the country, and it was coast to coast. I've never seen such a tired group of farmers ever after a season that we went through. And I think it fell right into the U.S. also. It was just, everybody was just burnt out. I mean, the weather just did not cooperate when it came time to take the crop off.
Zach,
So as a wonderful winter getaway, after that's all over, you came to beautiful Omaha, Nebraska.
There's less snow than home, so that was okay.
Considerably less?
Yeah, but it's colder, so
colder
I
than at
wasn't
home?
happy about that. I never travel south to get colder, so I'm not sure what happened.
That's surprising. When Randy and I drove down yesterday, we lost 28 degrees in a 6-hour drive south.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's tropical here.
Listen, I'm continually plugging Farmer2Farmer 6, Cancun, Mexico.
Oh, I think you won right there. Where's the bells?
You should start a petition.
I think you should.
Yeah.
There we go. So we're here, there's going to be lots of conversations amongst farmers, between farmers, as they kind of are getting in the groove of 2020. What are you guys going to be talking? I mean, let's get right into the controversy. Is there anything that you can learn from American farmers, or are Canadian farmers just better?
Scott.
Apology Tour 2019.
One of the best things about coming to these kind of events is to meet other farmers and hear what they've gone through. Everybody, we've all got our strengths and weaknesses, but when we get to sit with other farmers, it doesn't matter if you're growing corn or soybeans or wheat. So many of the things that you can learn about, so many of the problems we have are very similar. And the successful farmers or businessmen, business people, always seem to have the same theme. They've gone through adversity and they've come out stronger and smarter and more motivated again. So for us, that's a big reason why we're here.
Have you guys been here before?
Not this
no,
one.
This
No,
is the first
no,
time, first one you've been to.
Yeah.
It's fun.
We actually
This is a really fun show.
Our marketing advisor was with us for years before, and then when he came on with you, he brought us along. So this is brand new to us, but we're just trying to learn.
Yeah.
Marketing was our main outlet before that we didn't think we could handle properly. And with all the things going on in the world, that's just one less thing to have to worry about. So that's what we started with, and now we're just learning over the years as things have gotten bigger that you can't do it all yourself. You have to get, outsource those things to people who are better, more connected, and more passionate about it.
So why would you guys, I'm curious to each of you, why did you become members, and what do you like the most now after being members for a while? What do you like most about being a member of FBN?
Well, yeah, I mean, we came on with the marketing side. I was aware of some of the things that FBN was doing. The price discovery was definitely one of them. Some of the products that were available. In Canada, we don't have nearly the product list that there's the American Farmer, but it's growing. And
even with all the diverse crops up there, you have less of a, you'd say, of a product list?
It's getting them registered in Canada under the FBN label.
Sure.
Which is it's a process, especially in Canada. It tends to be a slow process.
Or a process?
Did I say Canadian?
Yeah, you said it. I think that was a Canadian word.
Okay. How should we say? Process? Process.
Well, you're from Canada, so you got to say process. It's my job to just give you some crap.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So process. So yeah, it's growing and evolving, and it's exciting to see and be a part of what's going to be happening. Especially the fact that we have the ability to see how it's going in the U.S. and it seems that it's really helping the American farmer quite a bit. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah. It's cool. Scott?
Yeah, we're really new to this, to FBN, but we've been, like I say, with the marketing side of it, we've been sold on that, and having a team atmosphere on our farm in a similar situation, but not everybody on the same company. We've done that for years. Probably one of the first growers in our area to just finally really give in and say, we're going to hire agronomy out, we're going to outsource marketing, and the other parts of it, they just make a lot of sense. So
sure,
you can't do it all that well, and it's nice to have the team behind you, that has your back when things go really tough in other places, like this year's harvest. The last thing you can be thinking about is marketing when you're trying to get a crop off in the mud or the snow. So even if it's just for your mental health to have that team behind you, and almost every year it pays. In the long run, it does. So.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I recently dated something 2011, but it turns out it's 2019, December. Which means it's almost 2020, which is insane. There's a whole new decade that's about to happen. Give me a little outlook, and Zach, chime in, because really, isn't Minnesota just Canada light? What do the next 10 years on your guys' farms look like?
I'm still hung up on the Canada light things. You go ahead and take this.
I think it's just bigger, badder, better. I think that's just the way the trend is going. Farms are amalgamating. I would imagine after these tougher years, you're going to see probably more amalgamation, maybe even faster than normal. And I think it's just the trend. And as we have tools like FBN and our marketing people and stuff like that, I think it's all fitting together. I think it's all gonna happen. I think we're still probably going to maintain the family farm. I don't think that's ever going away, and I think it's still going to be the majority of it. But it's going to get bigger, more intense, and harder to manage. So,
Scott,
I'm actually hoping, and naive enough to hope that this can still happen. But we grew our farm really quickly over a lot. Well, it seemed like very quickly, and now I'm trying to raise a family, and I've realized that. And I think as farmers, it's kind of this last year there's been a bit of an awakening to it, is how stressed and how hard-working farmers are. And I've just realized, I've worked these crazy hours all these years and to build the place. Then you look back and realize I'm not even raising my kids anymore. When we need to keep the farm going, but how can we? You can't just keep going down that path. And farmers probably are almost, everybody has some little aspect of them that's almost superhuman, whatever it is that you do really well. And we've all focused in and done that. And we're actually looking at it. I'm hoping our farms, to some extent, quit growing at the pace they are, and we can keep our acreage similar maybe, without having to just keep exponentially growing to make a profit. It'd be like, say our Canadian dairy industry, it's a different thing, but those guys can make a living with a smaller amount of cattle. No, it's a total different industry. But I don't foresee wanting to have these huge farms that our children won't be able to manage, because as you grow into it, you learn how to manage it. But if you hand that off to somebody else, there's no even interest in them wanting to do it. So I'm trying to find a way to keep our farm from having to just keep growing just for the sake of growth, and make a really good living, and maybe branch it out into a few different ventures that maybe one of my kids might want to take part in, and diversify it that way. And I'm sure the farm will still keep growing, but I don't want to see 50,000 acre farms all over the place and nobody else. So we're looking at ways to just, it was always sustainability has been a big catchphrase lately, but it's not just that just for the sake of saying it, but what can we do to just make a better living and have a more balanced life? And these kind of things tie into that very well.
We don't want to just sustain. We want to, flourish, right?
Yeah.
Sustain is just.
Yeah, and people say that farmers are always trying to look after things. So we've always
Right.
done that anyway. Before that was a catchphrase, but yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think, personally, going forward, like you said, you don't think the family farms will go away. I would agree. I think there's always, especially going forward, going to continue to be a place for the smaller farms and a place for the bigger farms. And I think the consumer is really going to drive a lot of that, because the consumers are really kind of branching off and demanding their own things, right? So I think there's going to be a market for what the small farmer can do and a market for where the bigger farmer is more efficient, right? And just a place for everybody. I really think, I really believe that going forward, that's probably what we're looking at. I hope that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, there's no reason that all farms can't exist and shouldn't be able to exist.
Right.
And I agree with that.
And one farm could be we're a wheat, canola, barley, oats, peas commodity producer, but we could be a niche beef producer or something like that. And every farm can, and if you have an employee or a kid that comes back to the farm with a specialty, we always try and build on that, whatever that may be.
Right.
And let that person take something and do their own, because you can't just keep plodding away with the same two crops. And I see in the American farmers get cornered sometimes with that, with say 2 major crops, and it gets really tough competitively if it doesn't work out.
Right.
You're kind of pigeonholed there. So I think the Canadian farms and the ones we're around are set up okay that way, but it also is a lot more risk and a lot more management to deal with.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think there's a real through line there among farmers that I know too. About kind of that work-life balance element. I hear that so much, because the thing that farmers have that a lot of other people don't is your kids are watching you not have a work-life balance. They're there every day, and so when you want your kids to come back and take over the farm, why would they? They've seen you struggle. They've seen you never be around. And I think I see farmers trying to find that balance of, do I need to hire someone? How can I align my business to have the life I want, that I can feel confident handing that off to my child, that I want that for future generations?
we've changed. When I grew up as a little guy, it was almost a badge of honor to be really busy and work really hard, and everybody who's in this business has obviously proved themselves now. But my wife told me about a year ago, she said, our kids, we had a real conversation. It was like, our kids are watching you do exactly what you said and work your butt off and come home grouchy about this or that. You don't even know you're doing it. And they don't really see the benefit of the gratification of finishing the job or whatever that I get to see. And she said, if this doesn't change, they're not going to want to have anything to do with that. And it really struck home for me, right? So I'm stepping back, and maybe that's just my midlife crisis, just stepping back and trying to say, okay, how can we make this better and have a better work-life balance for everybody, but still maintain that peak performance, because you have to do that. You can't just slack off. The industry will just run you over. You have to still perform, but how can we perform? How can we do that and still and live a life that our kids will accept?
Yeah.
And our employees will accept.
It's so hard, because that it's like there's a part of you that's like, I could do it though, and I want it. Because I can do it, I'm gonna do it, or I want to do it.
Before.
Yeah, and it's hard to identify moments where you can be like, I can do it, but I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And that's like for me, and that's for my family, and that's.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the better management that I think you're seeing the farms, and going into the future, that's what they are. They're still family farms, but the management level is increasing in the U.S. and Canada both exponentially. It's just crazy how much more management's going into it, and that's where your work-life balance comes into play too, because you recognize shortfalls that you're creating and stuff like that. So I still think it's still going to be going up.
Absolutely.
It's a great way to look at it. I'm interested, what are you guys most looking forward to at this show?
Is there a poutine bar?
There should be.
Right next to our maple
There's
cookies.
definitely a bar.
Right beside the maple cookies. Yes, and the moose. Is the moose here?
And the barbecued hockey pucks.
And the barbecued hockey pucks. That makes nothing but sense. Yes. We actually talked about it just a minute ago. It's the network, right? It's the networking ability here. Is that I think both of us are on the same page as far as that goes.
We meet some incredible people here.
We need to network, because it's 50% of Canada right here. So
this is half of you?
This is half of us. Yeah.
And Justin Trudeau, who's the fourth one?
And Justin. No. We shouldn't talk about that.
Sorry,
religion or politics.
Religion or politics, yeah. We specifically said nothing about religion or politics.
To put my life in perspective, we got into the hotel last night at midnight, had to get up before 4 this morning to get on the plane, and Candace and I said, like, God, we could just tell everybody we went and just sleep for 4 days in the hotel and just, and like that's really probably half people here are
You're
that
an
tired.
out-of-the-box thinker.
They're that tired, right? So, you know, we need to get out and do this stuff, but I'm really looking forward to just meeting some energetic people, coming back home with a little bit more fire under my tail.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, we will all have the chance to sleep in like 3 days, but until then, we're going to stay so wired, so awake, so excited to be here at Farmer2Farmer. We actually have a couple of people, we know that you're watching out there on the live stream. We want to say hi to Preston in Nebraska, also Sam K in Missouri, and Harvlin C from Texas. We know you're out there. We see you. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be right back after this.
Bring us in, John. We're in.
We're here.
We're in, guys.
We're here.
Wait, where are we?
Like we're live now?
We're live right now.
Where?
Should I put this on Facebook or just Instagram? doing both. We're doing both.
Welcome back to Farmer2Farmer 5. We're all getting off Instagram.
Okay.
Was it Instagram?
I was on
What was
Facebook.
it? What did you use?
I didn't post though yet.
You didn't?
Nick was on Facebook.
Facebook? People use Facebook still?
Guys, MySpace was hard enough to get over, okay? I'm still transitioning out of Facebook, all right?
From Montana, they're like it takes away, time for things to.
We're a little
to reach
slow
all
up
the way
there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there's still a MySpace of mine floating around somewhere.
I've tried
in MySpace.
I've tried to log into mine. I don't even know my password is.
I don't know where to go with that. Why would you try to log into that?
I don't know. Just pictures. I'm afraid that might get out there. No, nothing to say about it.
No one go look for
Yeah.
it.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Everyone's out there.
All right, so we better let some of the people know who we've got here. We've got Nick Welker, Welker Farms. We've got Meredith Bernard, This Farm Wife, and Natalie.
Kavorek.
That's how I thought I was saying it.
Well, swing and a miss.
Beef Ranch Wives.
Ranch Wives Tea Company.
See, I knew I'd get it wrong.
Yeah.
I was debating whether I should try and say it or not. We're social media people. You guys are social media people. I'm just a live streamer this week.
Yeah. Well, the actor who plays the live streamer.
Right. Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, okay. Just thought I'd leave that there.
What got, Nick, I'll start with you. What got you started on social media?
Oh, well, you know, I guess it was probably my college friends back when I brought them back for a spring break, I think in 2009, and they had a riot. We did a lot of things that were, I guess you could say, questionable today, but they thought this is awesome, Nick. People would love to watch you guys do fun stuff like this. Like, this is something people are going to see, and there's this thing called YouTube. You should make some videos and put it on there. And so we created a YouTube channel, put one video up on it, and I just left it. And I was like, I don't really feel like doing this. But as we started farming, people could kind of like to see the farming operation, so I started doing the Facebook farm channel and showing all that in there. And then as time gone on, the Action Cam GoPro came out, and time lapse has always fascinated me. And I was like, we're starting to do these kind of cool projects in the shop with my brother and my dad. And I thought, it'd be awesome to time lapse the beginning and end of a whole restoration of a tractor. You know, it's Big Buds were kind of starting to get back on the scene again as kind of a legendary old tractor. So I did one of those, and it was a hit and took off. And it just kind of became this sort of work all year to make one video, and that was the whole point. So first it was restoration projects, then it became a farm season. Like, let's stick a camera to every possible spot I could do on a farm machinery. So from planting to spraying to harvest to everything, I just kept sticking cameras around, and did a whole year of farming in 2012 and put that up, and that was a hit. I was like, this is kind of fun. So I would spend 40 hours editing it together and adding music and all stuff, put it up once and watch all the comments, and then I just leave it, and that'd be it. And as the drones came on the market, that really opened up a whole avenue of more videos, and we did more projects, and then it just kind of started evolving. And wow, there's a lot of feedback coming from this. People are actually starting to know the name Welker as like a household name in the farming community. And hey, have you seen Welker's video? And I'd show people, and I could come over, hey, I'm from Montana, you want to see what we do? I have a video on YouTube, you should watch it. And it was kind of almost just a tool to kind of show where we were. But about 2 or 3 years ago, it just kind of started to transition into, well, this is actually something that is gaining quite a following, and I need to take this seriously. And not only just for the opportunities, I mean, financially, it's been an amazing opportunity for myself and the farm and the avenues it's opened up. So the vlogging scene kind of started to kick off around then, and I think people were just getting tired of just a lot of the regular media and entertainment, and it just sort of took off. And unwillingly, I did not want to carry a camera around every day. That was absolutely not what I want to do. I hate having a camera in my hand. I really don't like it. I like sticking a camera on a machine, just recording the tractor, and I can do my own thing at the end of the day, put music to it and call it good. But it was such a hit, people loved it so much that I realized I got to do this. And so that's kind of what led us to where we are today. So it's
and
yeah.
here you are in sunny Omaha, enjoying the Farmer2Farmer conference.
It is unreal.
Unreal, unbelievable, yeah. Perfect tropical destination.
I would never want to be anywhere else.
Have any of the three of you been here before? Go
No.
Big Red.
Yeah. Well, I live in central Nebraska now, so I have been here before.
So you just gained a lot of fans with the Go Big Red.
Yeah.
I'm close enough to Nebraska to know that. Meredith, tell us about your social media, why you started, why you do it now.
Okay, so about 6 years ago, I quit my corporate job. I was in feed sales, and I was on the road a lot and felt like I was being led home. And so I did. I jumped off that big scary bridge and took that leap of faith and came home to help my husband more on our farm. We have beef cattle, and at the time had 2 small children. And at that time, I had a small Facebook account, and I just started sharing more and writing. I started a blog, and I started talking and sharing more about farm life and relating that to life in general, and just really started finding people were relating to what I was sharing. Either people that had a farming background or didn't, and were interested in seeing how we did things and what we did. And so from the blog, it just kind of went from one thing to another. I got on ag Twitter, which is a thing.
It is a thing.
It's a
Definitely
thing.
a thing.
Maybe not a great thing, but it's a thing.
It depends on who you ask.
A couple of years ago, it was good. It opened up some doors, and I made some connections for some writing opportunities. And anyway,
Are you
I
still
started.
writing?
I do. I write. I have a bi-monthly column in Progressive Farmer, and then I write for another digital magazine, Ag Now, and a local magazine. So I do some writing.
Yeah.
And photography. I was doing photography on the side, and then so I could kind of put that together on my blog. And then I don't know, a couple years ago, I did a little silly video in my kitchen making biscuits.
Like it's a very befitting
It
first
sounds
video
so
for
weird
you.
to just say it out loud, but that's what I did.
I still think it sounds weird to say that I make tractor videos.
Right, I know. What do you do?
I
Don't
swear I'm a
ask me.
grown man.
Please don't ask me what
I don't know
do.
about that.
It's debatable.
We can debate that later.
So I made a video doing that, and several people said you should do more of that. But I always felt more comfortable writing, where I could plan out what I was saying instead of just being off the cuff. But it was like being able to put a whole different side of myself out there too, though, and it was well received. So I started doing more videos on the farm, and started a channel and did a few, and then kind of backed off for a little bit, kind of like what you said, and then decided I would give it another go, and started getting a following and more people, asking for it and seeming to relate to it. And I just really like sharing my story and encouraging other people to share their stories, and just realize that we all have a story to share. They all matter, and we're all in this together. And
Right. It is really cool to see how many farmers are doing this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just seems like it just exploded.
I know.
And there's such a diverse group of farmers that are doing this now.
Right.
Diverse as in geographically, and diverse with their crops and what their practices are. It's awesome.
Right.
It's like Farmer2Farmer.
Yeah.
That
Where's the bell? Where's the
Good.
Yeah.
Natalie, what is your story?
Well, I feel like you guys, I'm more of a newbie at this than you guys.
A noob. That's
noob.
what my son calls it. My 10-year-old son. That's
I
a
didn't
word
know
now.
that. Noob is noob for the newbie. New is the new
Yeah,
newbie.
but I'm confused as to the context he uses it in, so I'm still trying to figure out.
Well, I don't think I would start using it then yet.
Maybe I should be careful, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe I gotta watch it.
But I think you guys maybe recognize the power of storytelling more earlier on than I did. I mean, I'd always used Instagram for myself personally, and I'd always been drawn to the artistic and creativity that went into it. And then just a couple years ago, my best friend and I decided to start Ranch Wise Beef Company, and we wanted to sell. We're both from ranches, and so we wanted to sell our beef direct to consumer. And so we kind of talked about how we thought we'd get in front of people, and it just seemed we had seen Instagram, businesses doing that, and we're like, well, we're really familiar with the app. Let's just start there and see how it goes. So we really started our page very specific, basically just to sell our product, and then
It was a marketing avenue.
yes, and then slowly along the way we realized there's so much more to this app that we should be doing, which is basically showing people the beef industry and what goes into raising beef. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions, so we really thought we could use that to our advantage to really just show the people that are raising the beef that everyone eats. So it started out kind of one thing and snowballed into something completely different for us.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Where do you guys think social media farming goes from here? Like world domination?
I mean, I wasn't going to say it,
But you knew it.
Yeah.
It's on the
It goes from
rise.
Omaha to the world.
I mean, I think you're definitely just going to keep seeing more. We're going to see more farming channels, which is good.
It's great, yeah.
It's growing, and there's.
Interesting.
I was like, wait, what's happening?
There's an awkward individual behind us right
Do you
now.
guys feel like someone's looking at you? Do you feel like?
I feel like I'm being
Hey,
watched.
can I get my camera back yet? Oh, it's back there. It's back there.
Your guys' focus is amazing. It's even walks around here.
You have.
I saw him over there.
I don't know who
Well,
he is.
that was awkward. Huh?
That was extremely awkward.
I don't know
Children.
who that guy was.
I don't know where his parents are. They need to.
Where were we?
Out of the corner of my eye, I was like, that guy can't be that tall,
I
right?
kept talking the whole time. I didn't see
I'm your
him.
biggest fan.
What were we even talking about?
Where social media is going.
domination.
Farm social
Oh,
media.
yeah, world
How
domination.
did you forget?
Right, and that's when Cole scrolls up like, I'm here to dominate.
I honestly don't know. I'm the same thing is thought in my mind because trends. The term for a trend isn't a trend if it doesn't last forever. Like, so what is this going to happen? I mean, is it going to be a flash in the pan? I don't know. It seems like it's changed so much in the past year or two.
Yeah.
And
It's already in a place that I never saw coming.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
just social
No
media
way.
farming
Well,
in
I don't
general.
think social media is going anywhere.
And we're so.
You think it's going to stick?
Yes.
Like the
media,
internet is not just a fad?
Well, see, I was told that like the younger generations are getting off some of these platforms.
Safe bet.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, if the new generations, some are telling me, oh, they're getting off the old platforms because their parents are getting on there. So they're moving to the other platforms. And I think that's why Instagram's gotten so big in some of these other ones.
Well,
And
TikTok, isn't that the new one?
That's the new one. That's what I'm told.
I don't have
We
that.
should
one.
all right now.
My
TikTok,
niece walks
start it.
around on TikTok in the house.
TikTok.
I've been
Really?
told that I should start a TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't
don't have an
know.
interest
I don't
in
know
that.
if I'm funny enough for TikTok.
I don't even know what it is, really. It's videos. I don't know.
I'll just stick to what I know.
I can't do.
And when those die off,
Tractor videos.
I'm gone. Yeah, tractor videos.
Then we'll go back to farming.
There's always that.
If I remember how to do that.
Are you? So you're an actual farmer as well?
Well, there was a day or two. I do a little bit on the side. It's not really my thing. I mean,
What you really love to do is carry a camera around.
it is unreal. The sensation you get taking the SD card out, plugging it in your computer, and downloading that footage so you could edit it.
Yeah.
So you can spend
That's
hours
an amazing
somewhere.
feeling, isn't
It's
it?
unreal. It's unreal. I just love every second of it.
Just you need something to film, so
Yeah.
get a big bud tractor and go to town.
Yeah.
Or blow up a pumpkin.
It's cheap. Yeah, do something crazy. Wait, who does that?
Now I just want to spend the next 20 minutes talking about your bowling ball cannon.
Which you got to witness
Oh, I never went and watched
firsthand.
that. I'm sorry.
Your what? Uh-oh.
Well, it's not mine. It's
It's-
leg arms.
Oh, yeah.
I did
But
help.
It is so much more impressive than you can imagine.
It's pretty cool.
Never mind.
What, you're going to ask about his
Please.
name?
No, I want to
You're
know.
gonna ask about his
Now I'm
name?
very intrigued.
No, what's your guys' connection? I don't know.
With who?
Leg arms.
Okay, so
I know.
he's a hired hand, and we've been trying to fire him for the past year and a half. And every time I attempt to do it, for some reason, my family gets in the way because his last name is the same as mine. So he's 15 months younger than me. He's my brother.
Gotcha. Okay.
His last name isn't Arms?
Well, yeah. I mean, he is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you about this yet, but he actually stopped by our farm looking for a job about a month ago.
He did.
Oh, Lord,
Yeah.
this is going to get awkward.
He didn't seem interested, though, after he came in the shop.
Oh, wrong color?
I think that was it.
Oh,
well,
yeah, green red, right?
yeah. He does get a little.
What's that
the
make
wrong
us? What
shirt.
do
You
you
should've
get when
wore a
you're
green
wearing
shirt.
the wrong What do you get when you mix green
There's a
and
little bit
red?
of green on this.
There you go. I didn't get one because John told me I was running late, so I scrambled to get down here, and the security guy chased me. Like, you need credentials. but talk to Sally.
Look at my Instagram name.
I'm an important
I
person.
have a YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have anything interesting to talk about?
I thought we were talking about interesting stuff.
We were. I just feel like I'm supposed to guide the conversation.
Do any of you feel very unworthy to be in the position you are, and feel like you're being put on a pedestal that you really don't deserve?
I definitely.
Every day.
I'm here with y'all.
I feel like that
guys,
constantly. It's like trying to keep. I mean, attention.
It's uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah, I have never been a spotlight person.
Right.
It's not.
Really?
Oh, there's
Because your
two of them
position,
right
right?
there.
Yeah.
Oh,
you see,
yeah.
you
That was
really
really dumb of me to say.
like
Idiot. Stupid. No, but I seriously do. I feel like I don't want people to ever think that, we feel like we're better than anybody just because we have a platform that honestly has taken a lot of work to make, but honestly a lot of times it's a lot of just luck, basic luck, opportunity, right time, right moment that's gotten to where we're at. And a lot of times it's not just us doing it, it's the fact that we have a farm that our grandfathers built, that our family's running. I mean, there's so much that goes into what we do. It's just we're a face for it. And but people need to know that we're no different than any other producer out there. I mean, I think that a lot of times people overestimate how skilled or good we are at what we do, because I honestly think that our neighbors are probably better producers than we are, and I'm always trying to look up to them and find out what are they doing that I need to be doing. So that's my thing, is I feel like sometimes we're just elevated to a platform where we're really, not that we don't deserve, but I just hope people understand that we're just average people. I mean, we just have a camera and a following, and we're trying to figure out how to manage it.
Right, yeah, and it's not always easy.
When did you start your page? Like, how long have you been doing this?
I started the YouTube channel 3.5 years ago. And for the first year and a half, I did everything on my phone.
What kind of phone?
Samsung Note.
Nice.
Note 8. This is a Note 8 now.
I do everything on my phone.
Yeah. It's the first video, so people ask me all the time, like, you must be you're a techie guy, right? You love computers and stuff. Like, the first video I made, I used an iPad because I thought I had to. Like, I didn't know any different.
You took the video with your iPad?
Yeah, my very first video ever. And I didn't use it landscape mode. I was telling this story here last night. I didn't use it in landscape mode. It's like, so it was straight up and down, so I got
black
chewed out
bars.
for that. Yeah, the black bars down the side.
Black bars.
I'm like,
that's a big no.
It'll work if I tip it sideways?
What is this magic?
Yeah, I used my phone forever, and then I got a GoPro, and then I needed a new computer for what I was doing on the farm anyway. So when I bought the computer, I told the computer guy, like, put some video editing software on that. And I had no idea what I was doing. I used YouTube to teach myself how to piece clips together.
Right.
And that's pretty much the high level I'm at now. I push clips against.
YouTube.
Yeah. And well, okay, let's see. Your wife helps you some, right?
Oh, a
She's
ton.
like an integral part of what
Yeah. Yeah, she.
Well, most wives are. Just,
I mean.
True story.
Yeah.
Thank son.
Just plugging the wives here.
Like during harvest, when we're really trying to push videos out, and people will give me crap for, wasting my time making videos. Like, all I do is walk around with this camera in my pocket, and then my wife makes the video. I get home at night, I pull the SD card out, I put it next to the keyboard, and by 2 o'clock the next day, the video's online. Like, that's not me in the middle of harvest. I can't do that.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's
Hashtag teamwork.
Hashtag teamwork. I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Wait, hang
It
on a
looks
second.
official. I made sure Sally gave me
I trademarked that.
teamwork.
I love my wife.
Natalie,
Ranch Beef's wife, Kaverick.
2019. I know that one wasn't right?
Right.
Sorry. That was awkward. Shouldn't have been doing that.
Right in the middle of this hard-hitting interview?
Yeah.
I have to be on my phone in every 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right, I'm with you too.
Have you guys checked your Instagram yet?
Go live right now. Sally says go live. But I have
Sally
7
says do
text
something,
messages.
everyone has to do it.
My dad is asking me to call him. Hang on.
Yes, Dad.
We're going live.
Well, I'm posting my video that I didn't get to post.
We're right in the middle of our interview. Taking a break.
You got to go on Cole's shoulders.
Yeah.
Super.
I've never gone live before,
So
you guys.
I'm creating a story while we are live right now, which seems like that's about as boring as it could get.
I've never done
John,
this.
I still don't know
I'm a
what the
noob.
slidey
I'm a
camera's
Oh,
for.
you're going live. I wasn't doing that. I was doing
Oh, she's
a
doing an actual
story.
live event?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never
Oh,
done
no.
it either.
Oh, I just got a notification.
When you say go live, what do you mean?
I don't even know how.
If you don't mean going live.
See,
Look at hi people.
So
have you ever gone live in your pocket on accident?
Okay.
I'm trying to watch her live stream, but I don't know how to do it.
Look at we're here.
How do you tag people?
I'm gonna be the mature person.
I
and put my
don't.
phone
I've
down.
never done this. I don't know. I've never
You
done
kids
it
in your
either.
phones.
I can't get it to work. Check
Hi,
connection.
This is so fun.
Oh, is this working?
Is everyone enjoying watching me
I
go
think so.
live?
Is that live?
I gave up trying to
My
figure out
shirt's a
how to
mess.
watch your live
No one told me about my
streams.
shirt.
Well, we're live streaming.
Like that commercial with the guy with the wrinkles.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
okay.
We're going live. I've never really
Does
done
anyone have anything profound to say?
Say it
Well,
now.
you could follow that. I think there's
there's
questions on there.
I forgot about that.
So many waves.
Oh, we have a teleprompter?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, no wonder I'm the only
Can
one
I
that's
flip this around?
How does it say? I am Zach Johnson.
time commitment and balance.
Yeah,
Very-
yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
Time commitment and balance.
Okay, we're
Natalie's
ending live.
busy.
We're
Both the-
ending
both
live.
the
We're
girls
ending
are-
live. Say goodbye.
We're ending. From Farmer to Farmer 2019, signing off.
Okay, say it again for me.
From Farmer to Farmer 2019, signing off. Again.
Do you want to say anything?
From signing off to Farmer to Farmer.
I'm Omaha.
What was Jay doing when someone
This is a
and he
train
was
wreck.
like coming up with slogans? Do you remember that?
I don't even know what I say at the end of videos.
We got 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we gonna?
I wish we had a Q&A. That'd be nice.
I'll cue. I'll set up the cue.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Meredith on this one.
Oh, great.
To start. As far as a time balance here, the management of your time when it comes to social media and family and the farm.
I always say I just try to balance the imbalance.
I love that.
I cannot.
Oh, that's a good
So I
That's
put
a
on
good way to
t-shirt.
answer without really saying anything.
It's like
politician in the
political.
making.
It's a
Perfect
She's got
answer,
a
yeah.
political.
Because it's just like anything. One day something gets more than the other. One day it's farming, mothering, or if I'm committing to this. I mean, I'm on my phone probably more than I should be. But
I think that's most humans.
I know,
Yeah.
right? But really just trying to, and giving myself grace. I say that a lot. I think we, need to just kind of realize that we're not perfect. We can't be everything to everyone all the time. And I know with our platforms now growing, it feels like we're being pulled so many directions and there's so many people. I don't know. I'm just finding that the larger my platform gets, it's more emails and more messages and more people that you want to answer. More trips to Omaha. You
Well, that's enjoyable.
You don't want to leave people out. You want to connect. I want to connect. I want to comment on every comment, and it's not all possible. So.
But now you're here at Farmer to Farmer 5.
I know.
Look at there's just
It's
been
amazing.
people
It's
filing in
cool.
the entire time.
Yeah.
Eating delicious meals that smell
I know,
so
I'm
good.
so
and
hungry.
And I am so
stomachs are
hungry
growling.
too. Why did you guys come to the show, and what are you looking forward to? Besides dinner.
I mean, I personally, we ranch. That's what we do mostly. And so there's a big whole umbrella of agriculture and a bunch of different things under it. And so I'm just excited to learn more about farming in general.
In general.
Yeah.
I am. I'm excited to learn more about farming and what FBN has to offer too. Learning more about the company, and then
Who's FBN?
Yeah. And then just like this, I mean, honestly, the networking and the social aspect of it is a big plus
It's
to
a
me.
fun show.
It's very fun. It's very fun to be standing out there and have people come up and get to meet somebody face to face that follows you or that you interact with regularly. But we talk daily online, but we never met before.
Yeah.
So that's worth a lot.
The fellowship is a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's knowing that everyone here either has a background in ag or is currently in it, or we're all part of the same industry.
Yeah,
and
right.
And it's a
good one. It's good industry.
It's a connection you don't have outside other areas. And
Right. Yeah, you just don't.
Tight.
You don't get this a lot of places. Like what's happening here, where we're not constantly sitting in conference rooms wearing suits and ties and trying to really talk about the issues and this is awesome.
It's awesome.
And it gets you out of your bubble. It's
It
easy
does.
to get. It's amazing how small my ag was in my world in Montana.
She doesn't like what you're saying. She's like,
Yeah.
cut.
Idiot. Make
Wrap
Nick
them
stop
up.
talking.
Man, I just-
Someone wrap them up.
We got shout outs. Wait, I used to look at that camera.
What does that
Which
mean?
that one over there? Okay.
Oh.
We're going to shout out to
Can I do
Jerry
an
in
ask?
Nebraska.
I
Oh, all right.
Jerry, from a fellow Nebraskan to another one. Hi.
Oh.
So I guess I'll send the one out to Brian in Washington.
Yeah.
Hello, Brian.
Hi, Amy in Ohio.
And-
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know.
And Don H. I went to school in Colorado, so we're cool. You're the man.
I've been to Colorado.
No.
I have been to Colorado.
I flew to Colorado today.
That's how you say it, Colorado.
Yeah.
Again, she's,
All right.
she's like, we are not interested in what Nick has
We're
to
done.
say.
They gave us like twice as much time as we
I
were
see
supposed
leg
to have,
arms.
and they still can't get us to quit.
Yeah.
Domination.
Domination.
Let's see.
From Farmer to Farmer
You know,
5 in
this-
beautiful, sunny Omaha, Nebraska.
It is a revolution.
Now I don't know what to say. That part sounded cool.
That was
We'll be right back after these messages.
Because I deal with my own struggles, I created Mental Health Monday. I started Mental Health Monday on Instagram to create a positive platform where people could share their struggles and their triumphs about mental health and mental illness. Mental Health Monday has become something bigger than I ever imagined, and I couldn't be more thankful for that, because I get messages all the time from people saying, thank you for Mental Health Monday. I thought I was alone in this. You know, I realize other people are struggling too. And it's not just me. It's not me. It's you guys. It's every single person that shares. And like I said, I just want to say thank you, because you are making a world of difference.
Welcome back to the Farmer2Farmer live stream here in Omaha, the annual event, 2019 version. You just saw a clip from Tara Beaver Coronado. She is actually one of our guests here to talk with us a little bit about it. Tara, tell us about your video. What did we just see?
So what you guys just saw was my kind of description of what Mental Health Monday is and a little bit of why I started it. So pretty much I started Mental Health Monday to open up a positive platform to people to just share about their struggles and their wins too, and that's kind of what I was describing in that video.
Talk to us about how just the whole thing started. What you're on YouTube, we just heard from a bunch of social media farmers, and obviously being able to find a platform to talk about these issues is so important. What was your journey to doing that like?
Yeah, so I actually I'm more active on Instagram, but I just got on YouTube, and I think making that video kind of helped people understand why I do it. I dealt with a lot of anxiety. I still deal with anxiety, and that was kind of before I became a farmer. And once I started farming, like everything just escalated, you know, anxiety and stress, my normal life, and then farming on top of it. And once I started sharing my farming journey on social media, I just felt like I needed to be honest about this as well. You know, the struggles that I deal with. And I just started sharing it, and then people were kind of like, oh, I feel that way too. Like, I didn't know that other people felt that way. And so I was like, okay, you know, hashtags are like the thing. So I'm like, I'm gonna start this hashtag, Mental Health Monday, and if you wanna share, you can share. If you just wanna read, you can read. And it's really grown to be bigger than I ever expected. And it's amazing the messages I get of people just being like, I had no idea anyone else felt this way. Like, I get people all the time saying like, this is exactly how I feel. And like, I don't feel alone anymore. People open up. And then you also get like positive messages too, just to spread positivity. And yeah, so I didn't expect it to turn into what it did, you know, but I love it.
When you get messages like that, what do you tell those people? How do you work with them? I mean, if you've got a ton of messages like that, how do you find your way through that? What do you do to help them?
So the very first thing I say is that I am not a mental health professional. Like, I just want people to know that from the beginning. You know, everything I'm saying is just my experience. And the most important thing for those people is to reach out to a professional, you know, because I don't have those powers, or, you know. And I actually just recently took a class called Mental Health First Aid, because I didn't know how to respond to those messages. Because, you know, sometimes I'd get messages of people struggling, and I was kind of at a loss. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to point them in the wrong direction. So taking that class was so helpful, because it was really, it's really about just letting people know you are there for them. Like, they can vent to you, but in the end, you've got to see a professional, you know? And it's not a bad thing. It's okay to not be okay, you know? Right. And just knowing that you can reach out to people and talk to them, and I just try to lead them in that direction, really.
Well, and we were talking about that earlier, right? And so that reaction you get from farmers, and you've gotten all types of different reactions, and you say, go find the right people to talk to. That's the problem with farmers, is that we're stubborn naturally, right? We don't want to admit.
I don't know any stubborn ones.
Right, none at all? Good, you're a lucky man. But it's that reaction. It's the same thing at FBN. We talk about healthy farms. Healthy financially, but healthy mentally, healthy, you know,
healthy
different
in
ways.
general.
In
Yeah,
general.
healthy in general.
And this is
Full
just
circle.
part of it.
Yeah.
And that rural isolation people don't realize that. So that reach out, social media has really been valuable.
Yes.
And you're just a great example of why that is valuable, because there are people that are going through the same things, right? Get to the right people, have the conversation, be open about it.
Yeah.
Right? Don't ignore it. And that's key, that's huge.
Yeah, don't ignore it, and support systems. I think support is so important, you know, whether it's a family member or going and talking to a therapist, like find a good support system, you know, and just keep talking to them about how you're feeling. And I think one thing that I hope that FBN Health kind of gets into is like really gearing towards farmers, you know, like finding people that understand, because it's a different stress. You know, it's or any business owner. That's a different stress than everyday life stress. Not that everyday life stress isn't hard, because it is, you know. But someone that just kind of understands what goes on in farm life and what causes that anxiety, you know.
It's a different industry because you're so personally connected to your farm, right? I mean, it's what we love to do, and it's in a lot of cases, in most cases, certainly around me, it's what we've always done.
Yeah.
So when that stress builds up, you can't go home and get away from it at the end of the day.
It's the most personal business you can have.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, and I think what I hear from a lot of farmers who I've worked with is that it's really that network that's gone. It's people don't have that support system, whether it's because, you know, farms have consolidated, there's fewer jobs in rural communities, like your friends move away. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. They lose that network. And now social media is a big way that people are finding that again, finding new networks, different networks, finding people to relate to.
Yeah, I have to say the power of social media. I mean, I know there's negativity, but like the positive for me has been overwhelming. Like, because especially like where I live, I don't really know a lot of young farmers. I know a couple, but like I have been able to connect with so many people, and I have this new community, and people I can tell like, oh, I'm feeling this stress, and they're like, okay, we get it, like this is what we've tried, and that helps because I'm talking to people that understand. And when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, that can be hard, you know, to find those people to talk to.
Yeah.
And if you think about support structure, right? Part of that we try to facilitate at FBN, just having FBN Health and that. But support structure is family, it's friends on social media. It doesn't mean it has to be down the street. It can be someone to talk to, vent, share stories about. Those types of support structure. You take those things, and plus I honestly believe that we need better relationships with our primary care physician so that we can have those honest conversations about getting to a therapist, the right therapist. If you can create that support structure, I mean, we have a support structure in everything we do in farming, right? Whether it's agronomic support or this or that, this is no different. This is as important to the health of a farm and to a family as anything else.
Or more, because if you start losing that mental health and that starts crumbling, everything is at risk, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I think for a lot of farmers that I talk to, just healthcare itself is such a big stressor.
It really is.
I mean, not being able to access it. It is people's full-time jobs to manage purchasing healthcare, and then farmers are, you know, supposed to do it in the evenings or on the weekends or sometime when, you know, they'd love to be at their kids' Christmas performance. So, every kind of the stress is there at every level in ways that I don't think a lot of people understand.
It's one of those. They always say farmers wear lots of hats. It's another hat that a farmer or a farm family wears. That you work for a large company, there's a benefit administrator. You know, there's people that help you make choices, make decisions, find coverage. Farmers don't have that. It's difficult. It's just another hat you have to wear, and it's something you have to stay on top of year in and year out when it comes to choices, coverage, things like that for your family as you change. It's hard to do.
How does FBN help with that?
Well, I mean, part of what we do
like
at
that?
FBN
It's
is
a good
educate.
segue,
That was very smooth and not obvious at all. But it's like everything else we do. It's around transparency. It's around education, content, working with Tara, working with different individuals to get the word out, to get the message out. And then when you want to speak to a professional, whether it's about coverage or getting to the right physician, we can help with that. So a lot of what we do is really just about education, let alone actually offer, you know, an option for someone that might not have a lot of options when it comes to coverage. So there's a lot of things we're trying to do, but it always, again, supports the mission of helping farmers have healthy farms.
Well, and Lucas, I wonder if you could offer some advice. I mean, I think It's like, I will repeat, it's people's full-time job to figure out what the best health insurance is, where the coverage is, how you can keep your doctor, which plan is the most affordable and offers the benefits you want. Any advice for farmers on how to tackle that? It feels impossible.
It is, because the traditional routes, I mean, there's some options from some associations in the ag industry. There's some options to go. Some people might have some decent relationships with a local broker to talk about their options for healthcare. One of the things that we're trying to do is just be like, call FBN, we have a department to help support that. Whether you're in Minnesota or you're in Illinois or wherever it is, have the conversation, and quite honestly, we'll walk you through what that is. You have to talk about, what does your family need, right? There's high deductibles, there's low deductibles. Do you need dental, vision? Do you want to talk about what your provider networks are? What access to make sure you keep your physician, or if you're not wed to a specific primary care provider, we can find a provider network for you to find the right support. So those are the types of things that you want to look for. And then cost. Cost is important. You might be able to keep your existing primary care provider and then save money, because we've been able to, negotiate better rates across the national network than you can locally. So price is important, access to providers is important, and choices for your farm. We help that out. You can do it through some other sources. I'm not saying we're the only option, but the trick is find 2 or 3 options, and it's like pricing chem, it's like buying seed, it's like making decisions on your farm. You have to look at that annually. It's not something that you can put to bed and not think about for 3 or 4 years. You have to spend a little bit of time, but there are resources out there for you to do it, and we can help with that.
Absolutely. Lucas, Tara, thank you guys so much for joining us. This is such an important conversation. It is. One that we could honestly have for days and days.
Yeah.
We know that you guys have a lot of conference to get to, so thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We are actually going to hang out with you guys for a few more minutes up here. Just me and Zach, just chilling, hanging out, because we hear you. We see you guys out on the live stream. Commercials, they're hard. The reason why we're sending you to commercials is because we have to switch guests here at the desk, but we hear that you don't like those, and so we're changing, we're innovating. We're here, we're doing it. So, Zach, I have a really important question for you now.
Uh-oh.
Favorite beer? This is the kind of hard-hitting content.
Difficult question.
Our live stream viewers
a lot of
will
people
explore.
can answer that pretty easily, but I can't.
Why not?
I mean, I guess if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, I'd go with what I consider the most premium beer on the market, and that's Miller Lite.
Oh, I see.
No follow-up questions?
I think
You're just that disgusted?
That is an end of a conversation. If anyone knows anything about improv, that was a no and, not a yes and. But I see, okay, let's not talk about beer anymore then.
Well, what's your favorite beer?
I actually don't drink beer. That's a real challenging situation overall. I am a cider person. I just feel like beer tastes like urine. Not that I have ever drinking any urine at all, but I don't know. It's really terrible.
I have friends who tell me that that's what Miller Lite tastes like, but they're wrong. They're wrong.
I'm glad that is something that you can talk with amongst friends. Do you
All
have
the time.
Do you have friends who have really strong opinions about other varieties, types?
I mean, I think everybody has strong opinions about beer.
Yeah.
Certainly my friends do. Everybody in my life does. I don't know where to go with this other than I want one right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm currently drinking my 45th cup of coffee for the day, so.
You got coffee in there?
Yeah. Do you have water?
I have water, but I'm just about out.
Oh, no.
Should we throw some shout-outs out there? We got shout-outs on the screen.
Oh, yeah, we do. Hello, Eric V. from Alberta. We see you. We really appreciate you joining us here on the live stream.
And Kelly M. in Kansas.
Nate K. in Ohio. My family is from Ohio originally, so if you're anywhere near Cleveland and or anywhere else in Ohio, hello.
And Carrie L. in Illinois. My family's not from there at all, but I've been to Illinois multiple times.
How do you feel about Illinois?
For the most part, I like Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of how I feel about Minnesota, too. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, do you have a favorite?
It's no South Dakota.
In terms of good, bad?
I love the Dakotas.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Unpack that a little bit for us. I am from
There's really
Wyoming
no more to
originally,
say.
and
I like Wyoming a lot.
Don't quite feel the same way about the Dakotas. I mean, the Dakotas are great. They're no Nebraska, which is the worst state. Hot take.
What?
I'm so sorry.
You just said that. We're sitting in Omaha, you know.
And then we begin Sarah Mock's Nebraska apology tour. Right now.
You're just offending everybody.
Farmers from Nebraska, you're the best.
Offending Canadians, Nebraskans, Miller Lite drinkers. The list goes on.
It's just because it feels like I don't really know what else to do up here other than make enemies and then go straight to healing those relationships. That's what
Well,
a
I'm
network
glad
is
you
all
feel
about.
that way too, because I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
We're switching guests live on the air for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's not as cool because, you know, like the couple times we came back from commercial and all of a sudden you're gone and I'm over here and then we come back and I'm here, you're back. That was cool.
It was
People
nuts.
are probably like, how did they do that?
Magic. Which
It
we're
is.
actually, you wouldn't believe that we actually have harnesses
On the
that
spot.
lift us up and move us chairs. We actually don't have legs under this table.
We're floating
Yeah, yeah.
on talent clouds.
That's it. Like in Super Mario.
It's just like that, yeah, yeah. I get a kick out of when the people that the people don't see,
Mm-hmm.
they refer to us as the talent.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Do you feel like talent?
No, not even close.
If you were to describe yourself by a single noun, it would be the farmer?
Yeah, probably, probably.
Okay.
They like the farmer, but then that leaves
The
out
youngin'?
dad and husband.
Oh. Well, but the dad is, I think a lot of people would fight you for that one. I think the husband.
Nobody would fight for that.
Maybe a few fewer people, but.
Sure.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Well, thank you guys for bearing with us through our first attempt to keep you entertained throughout the break, but we're lucky, very lucky, to be joined by our next couple of guests. Lucas is back, and we're here to talk about 2020 crop insurance, a topic that is so important as risks continue to just skyrocket.
So we're not going to talk about 2019 crop insurance?
I mean, I think we should start there personally.
Sally, the screen. The screen, I need the screen. It's still got shout outs on it. I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
There we go.
We're functional human beings that
At
work
times.
for a living. So, 2019 was not the greatest year in all of American agriculture, I would say.
Understatement of the day.
Yeah, in Canadian agriculture. I've taken a poll today. 4 Canadians say not the best year. What happened with crop insurance in 2019?
Yeah. So we really kind of dusted off some of those corners of crop insurance policy that you don't normally see. So anything from prevented planting, obviously big time with all the excess moisture during planting. And then we saw quality adjustment issues are coming out, you know, whether it's vomitoxin in some wheat. Obviously we didn't have aflatoxin in a lot of cases with all the moisture, but we had a lot of other issues, you know, low test weight. Sometimes people are not able to deliver their crops somewhere because it's too low a test weight or there's too much damage in it, you know, some kind of quality issue. And so that's something that is built into the crop insurance policy, or at least most policies. But you don't always get to see that perform. And quite frankly, it's not a fun thing to go through because first off, you've had a crop loss, so that's disappointing. And then sometimes there's kind of built-in disappointment in that policy, to be honest.
And if you look at the industry as a whole, and Eric's got the numbers, but the amount of prevent plant acres, everyone's been talking about the amount of prevent plant acres across the U.S., the quality of the grain coming out, and quite honestly, there's a lot of crops still in fields. So we've got a couple different issues from planting to the summer to the harvest. Whether you're in North Dakota, Montana, you're in Northern Illinois, or wherever, we've had major crop issues. And so the crop insurance industry in general has been pretty darn busy compared to other years. There's always crop losses, there's always loss ratios across the U.S., but it's been a rough year. 2019 is one of those that we're ready to turn the page on, start thinking about 2020, just from a farmer perspective and from an insurance perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With the crop insurance in its current state, the way it's set up right now, what do you guys see as far as flaws or holes in the system that you think need to be looked at?
You bet. Well, just like I spoke of quality adjustment, to me that's a flaw that's been there for a long time, but it doesn't get addressed often enough to really get much attention. That could possibly change this year. I think another thing that, you know, RMA, to their credit, really did a good job addressing is the cover crop issue. And they bumped the use of cover crop for haying or grazing from November 1st up to September 1st, and yet not affect your prevented planting payment if you had cover crop on PP acres. I would expect we could possibly see a change there. It'd be interesting to see what our insurance panel says about that here tomorrow.
Yeah. It was such a unique year, and I think there was just so much to consider as far as potential impacts. I was actually talking to a South Dakota farmer recently, and I heard basically discussion about if you planted this year, if you didn't take prevented plant, and you didn't have great yields, which most people probably didn't, that's now part of your average, especially if you couldn't get the crop out of the ground at all. That's so right. I think there's a lot of farmers who are going through this, making this decision around, I pushed through. I tried to plant this year. I didn't just give up and take that prevented plant, and now I'm getting hurt again on that.
And that again on the backside of 19, but there's now concern about come springtime of 2020 because of decisions made at the end of 2019. Whether it's tillage, unharvested crop, there's a lot of, trickle down when it comes to,
Yeah, the dominoes definitely toppled and kind of caused other unforeseen circumstances. So whether it's the policy or like Lucas said, just the crop sitting out there, or in some cases, we were in Wisconsin recently, and everybody thought it was good news in a state like Wisconsin with dairy cattle. Hey, I can plant corn as a cover crop on my PP acres, and then I can actually chop it for some feed value as early as September 1st, but they couldn't get to it. The fields were so wet, it's still sitting out there in some cases. So things that, as some farmer put it this morning, he said, my plans change this year throughout the year on a weekly basis.
And there's implications to making decisions for next year, not just from a crop insurance perspective, but a farming perspective, rotations and crops and changes. So there's a lot of action that'll happen this winter that's slightly atypical from what your normal winter conversation is on the farm, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, were you impacted much in your area?
We were impacted with late planting, but our prevent plant acres were actually fairly low, considering the areas around us, especially to the west where they were really high. To the south and to the west of us was bad. In our county, I believe it was 3 or 4% that was prevent plant, which was relatively low.
Yeah.
I'm in northern Illinois, and we never have prevent plant, and we had 35–40% in some of our areas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of.
Unheard of. Yeah. Never's happened before.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, for you two specifically, and then maybe you can add a critique in the end, we talked about this earlier about Canada. Farmers usually plan for the year that was. That's all you only have so many data points to plan for. But if there's been any rule this decade, it's that no year is like another year, particularly not in a row probably. So how are you thinking about insurance on your farm in 2020?
That's a great question. Eric and I were talking about this earlier. Right now margins are tight, right? Commodity prices, costs, that kind of stuff. Everyone's trying to figure out where they save money or reserve money. And you can get trapped into this idea of taking less coverage to save money. That's usually not the good decision, or it depends on your farm, but it's very likely that you need to maintain that level of coverage or even increase it or change it. And so what's dangerous if you start making cost-cutting decisions, and that compounds your issues if you have any issues with your crop next year. So, what we see a lot, and what I hear a lot is I want to maintain that coverage, but the costs concern me, so what do I do? Type of deal.
Yeah. I think on our farm, I try not to look at it in a reactive way. Try not to react to 2019 and still understand that crop insurance is a management tool, right? And you have to kind of play the odds or play the middle or use it. Yeah, play the long game. Use it as the management tool it was designed to be, and try to use it to the best way you can for your specific operation. And don't change something just in reaction to what happened last year.
A knee-jerk, for sure.
Yeah.
And you see that sometimes, and it's unfortunate. This year there's a lot of second guessing. People sometimes say, "Oh, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd done that." Hindsight's that way, right?
Anybody who shorted themselves this year on crop insurance or the prevent plant or didn't take certain coverage, that's a bad deal this year. All right. This is the year you needed it. A lot of people needed it.
Yep.
Certainly the year you don't see coming either, right? Some people prior to this year, maybe prior to 2 years ago, said, I've not had a loss in 8 or 10 years. Will I ever have a loss? And then boom, this year comes along, and you realize why you buy the coverage.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. I'm going to ask a question that's a bit of shooting darts with a blindfold on, but is 2020 going to be better or worse than last year?
Well, if I knew that, you know, what's the answer? Like, if I knew that, I'd play the markets.
That's a big question. That's a big question.
But part of me wants to say it can't be as bad. It's going to be better. But if you say that, is this wood? If you say that, then it kind of evens your chance of it happening. So I'm not going to say it. My hope is it's better. It's less stressful. You know, regardless of what the yields come in and everything, the stress it put on planting season, the stress is put on harvest. We have, you know, almost 3,500 farmers here. Everyone I've talked to just finished up harvest or still has something to do. So it's been a long season, ready to turn the page and kind of get back to our normal time frames, if you will, type of deal.
I think it's important, you know, we've seen a shock test this year, obviously, right? That a lot of people haven't seen to this magnitude before, and the impossible happened this year, unfortunately. And I think it's important for people to, you know, kind of like you said, Zach, basically say, could this happen again? Well, yeah, it shouldn't, but it could.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like always.
Some year it will.
Some year it will.
Yeah.
You know, will it be next year? And I know
hopefully we're much older, right?
Yeah.
When we're having that conversation, that was just like 19.
We can't have these 1 out of 100-year events every 3 years because it's really aging.
Right.
Yeah, give it a few more of those years and you guys will be very old.
Yeah. I'll have to retire.
Best of luck with that one. Thanks again, Eric and Lucas, for joining us. This was a really great discussion. Can't wait to see what happens on the panel. 2020 RMA updates. It's all about what is different next year, so we're excited to see.
Exciting stuff.
Very timely.
Crop insurance.
Riveting content. Crop insurance. Thanks again so much for joining us, guys. We'll go ahead and let you guys get back to talking to farmers and building all that excitement that's here.
Sounds great. Hey, thanks a lot. Nice to talk to you guys.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And in the meantime, we are still here with you all.
Are you still going live?
Oh yeah,
all right.
Still live.
It never ends. We're here for the long haul. We have some shout outs though. We see you guys, you're out there talking about us on the internet. And I hope you're saying nice things because we can't see what you're saying, we just know it's happening. So we want to say hi to Gary B in Minnesota. Minnesota, little Canada, what do you think?
Well, I liked Canada Light.
Canada Light.
For some reason that got me.
Yeah.
I've heard it before, but not in a long time, and I didn't see it coming from you.
I saw the look on your face like I'd stabbed Minnesota, is what it looked like.
We like Canada.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. We like Alabama too. Why am I pointing at the screen? We like Alabama too, so I'm going to throw a shout out to Tad L in Alabama.
Marsha in Minnesota, we see you as well. Hopefully you're in one of the beautiful parts of Minnesota, which is all of them. Yeah. I drove through Minnesota a couple times. It's beautiful up there. A lot of fog, more fog than I expected.
A lot of fog. It depends on the day. What part of Minnesota did you go through?
I drove out of Iowa and drove across to Fargo.
Ah, okay.
So the middle?
You went pretty close to my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have hung out.
We
didn't
should
even
have,
know
but
each
you
other
didn't
back
call.
then.
You
Yeah.
didn't call.
Well,
You didn't wave.
It's on me. I did wave. You didn't see? Urgently waving.
I was busy holding my camera for YouTube.
Oh, yeah. YouTube people. Am I right?
And Rich W in Ohio. Big shout out to you. Do you guys see how busy this place is getting?
It's nuts. It's nuts. I've never seen so many plaid shirts and pressed jeans in one spot. It's amazing. You know, I'm actually really excited. The next people we have to bring up, which are not quite ready yet, but we're going to talk about data science. I want you guys to know, specifically you, Zach, that once upon a time, I gave the data science talk here at FBN. That's how much I know about giving presentations and not data science.
I am really going to lean on you for this one then.
Yeah. Good luck. I think there's statistics involved.
Is there a difference between data and data?
I feel like...
What? Datas?
I've recently learned that data is apparently the plural of data. And I quit English, so good luck to everyone. Well, we are actually ready to talk to our next folks, so thank you for bearing with us through the break. I'm happy to introduce Matt Meisner. He is the head of data analytics at FBN, and Hunter, who is our head of agronomy here, here to talk about data science. But let's start with the agronomy, because it's so much more interesting.
Very biased.
So we just wrapped up talking about the risk of 2019, the crop insurance in 2019. Obviously, big part of that risk, agronomy.
Right.
What happened agronomically in 2019?
I think it's what didn't happen. If you look back maybe over the last 20 years, it's hard to find another year that was as challenging in terms of timing. Planting season just dragged and dragged and dragged. All the decisions on switching, not getting down your pre-herbicide plans, like there just wasn't a circumstance that wasn't challenging from an agronomy perspective. I think guys continued to struggle through the rest of the year. It's just harvest is still lagging in some places. Really, there isn't a playbook for a year like 2019. I'd say 93 was maybe the closest, and a lot of us, weren't even in the ag industry at that point, or out of diapers or whatever. So it's, it was challenging, unbelievably.
Let me run something past you. This is something I heard from a couple farmers I was talking with recently. It's not just that people were kept out of the field. It's that they planted when it was wet. Root systems didn't get well established because there was so much water close to the surface. And then when there was dryness, talk about kicked when you're down, dryness later in the season, what's happening there?
Yeah, I think that's been a really interesting aspect just generally in crop breeding. Like there's been a lot of work towards getting these drought-tolerant hybrids, and basically that's just additional root mass scavenging for more water. But a year like this, roots need air to breathe. So when it's saturated with water, they stay away from it. Those shallow root systems, when it does dry off, you're lost. There's not, you can't scavenge from the entire soil profile. And the challenges that come with that are tremendous because the additional disease pressures, the susceptibilities that come on top of that drought. It's cascading issues at that point. So yeah, I mean, honestly, during planting season, it'd be great to have a little dryness, after you get emergence. And of course, we never had a break this year.
How do we use data to make sure the roots go deeper?
Do you sprinkle the numbers right on the top of the soil, or
can we use it as like a foliar application?
I think it's 30 bits per plant.
Per plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll get it.
That'll get it. That'll take care of your root issues.
But seriously, Matt, talk to us a little bit. So the thing is, there's no way to prepare for these kind of eventualities on your own farm unless you've seen every year ever. Like, I don't know how you prepare for more things like this, but data science offers us a little bit of an out there. What?
Yeah, so I think one of the big benefits that we can learn through data on this is that if we have data from other farmers who have experienced weather conditions like this, that can help us identify practices that are more resilient to bad weather. It might identify hybrids for corn that are maybe more resilient to these kinds of weather stresses. And yeah, you're not going to have experienced every possible weather condition on your farm because you can't, right? Your farm is only going to have a few decades of experience under its belt. But if you can aggregate that data from a whole network, which is really one of the core goals of FBN, that's when you can quickly learn from other farmers who may have experienced different growing conditions how different practices work, what products you can use that might buffer yourself a bit against some of the extremes. And we can also analyze, because we pull in all of the weather data as well, we can analyze how different practices compared in the weather, right? We can see which hybrids were the most resilient in the bad weather, which products did well under which conditions, and that can help inform what products we might want to plant next year. Obviously, hopefully next year is much better, but if it's not, at least we have the option to see what worked well this year and prepare that way.
What's your favorite thing to collect data on and look at the data? I mean, what do you think is the most useful?
What variable or what factor you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think probably for us, I think hybrid selection comes down to probably being the most important.
Matching it up with soil types or the geography or all of the above?
Yeah, I think all of the above. Soil type is a huge factor, and which genetics are the best suited to which soils can vary a lot by the genetics. Like the best variety for one soil type might be totally different than the best one for another. But the geographic data matters too. For example, a hybrid that's really well suited to drought tolerance, or certain hybrids might be way more resilient to heat stress in the summer, right? So With a big data set, you're able to pick out patterns like that and see, hey, when you had really hot nights in July for this hybrid, that really screwed up its yields, whereas this other one was pretty robust to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, seed is just such a big factor on the farm. You know, it's the biggest input cost, if not one of the top 2 or 3 for every single grower, is growing corn and beans, and thousands of products on the market, all with different prices, different traits, different growing characteristics. So in our experience, that's one of the ones where we see the biggest effect.
It's another tool in the toolbox for the management of your farm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. As opposed, I mean, it's always been a decision that people have taken seriously, but now we're able to leverage hundreds of millions of acres of data to make that decision.
Actual data. Yeah, right there. Yeah, exactly.
Data from real farms, right? Not
Right.
data just from research plots
Right.
or trials that, you know, is good, but limited, right? Like trials can't cover every hybrid. They only get a couple of acres per variety, if that, right? And the more data you have from the more growers, the more confidence you can have that the data's telling you something useful.
Absolutely, yeah.
Listen, I don't want to be the worst, but I've talked to the people at USDA, the head meteorologist there, and the outlook for the spring is not optimistic in terms of
You are
weather.
the worst.
Okay, it's fine. I'll be the worst. What do we do? You two. Solve it for me now.
Defer to Hunter.
Well, I think it started in November of last year. It's like it won't, you know, there's no relenting on this weather issue. So I think we're in just unprecedented times, but you've got to plan the best you can. You've got to plan with data and then adapt. And I think that's modern farming is being very ROI conscious, being very data driven, but being quick to react and make the adjustments when you can. And that's always challenging, but that's the recipe for success. Just gotta hang. I mean, you can't not farm one year. I mean, you can't just take a year off. So gotta roll with the punches.
What do you see for trends as far as how data has changed the way that guys manage their farms?
Yeah, I think a really easy thing to point to is precision planting and hydraulic downforce. A lot of research have shown it's productive, but I think when you look back at the planting data, you just see that singulation, you see that even emergence when you come back, and that's something that just, to me, I think it's really improved our yield potential as as national yields. I think that's a very strong component in this 4 or 5 year cycle of upturn. But I think at the very farm level as well, like there's just so much benefit, and to me that's a data decision that folks make.
So do you guys have data that shows that that better singulation really translates into a yield, into an ROI?
I think there's both anecdotal and pretty hard evidence of that. Some of it comes down to just logistics, making sure you can move fast, but almost some ease of use as well. I mean, not having to be thinking about what your downforce pressure is set to and those sorts of things.
Sure.
So, but yes, it is very clear that even plant spacing leads to higher yields, and it gives you better ROI. That's what you're there for.
Hypothetically, say I was a farmer and professional YouTuber from Minnesota. What would be your recommended data to watch going into planting? What do I need to check every day? Asking for a friend.
You got to watch the weather. I mean, that's the only thing. And honestly, some of the long-term forecasts are pretty helpful. But at the same point, I mean, if you could get the 7-day forecast right, you'd be you'd own the world almost anyhow. So it's very unpredictable. You just have to be mindful of the weather and try to build a plan that's something you can tear down and put back together as soon as things fall through.
Matt, what data do we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the ones that we track the most come planting is really planting temperature, and looking at how it's soil temperature specifically, and looking at how certain varieties have responded in the past to soil temperature. We've seen some hybrids that are much more amenable to being planted a little earlier, and others which are, that's playing with fire. So yeah, that's something that we track a lot, and we have historical data on how thousands of products have responded to that in the past, which we can then leverage to predict how that might occur in the future, and then track the soil temperature near real time in the spring to see when we think it might be getting safe to plant.
Well, and you guys have actually done some really interesting analytics around things like planting date. You know, say I'm a hypothetical Minnesota farmer slash YouTuber, and I'm like, I'll plant tomorrow, it's fine, I just really need to post this video today. That could really affect my yield.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the yield drop you can see from planting even just a couple days or a week later in a good year can be really dramatic. I mean, it can be several bushels over the course of a week or something. So, yeah, that's why, especially like this year when we had really short planting windows, the pressure was even stronger to like, we got to get this planted right away, or else we're leaving yield on the table. So, yeah, those are some of the.
I think the takeaway here for everyone is, for all those professional YouTube farmers out there, plant first, YouTube second.
I have no comment.
Thanks again to Matt and Hunter for joining us. We really appreciate you being here, all the work you're doing. Can't wait to hear what you talk to farmers about, because I'm sure there's an infinite amount of questions.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
thank you guys
for joining us.
Thanks.
And we're back doing the banter thing that we have to do in between our segments so that you guys don't have to watch commercials. So, Zach, how's it going?
It's okay. You know, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom pretty soon, but I'm good for a while. It's just too much water. It's in front of me, so I keep drinking it.
It's very hard. I get that.
Overall, like if you look past the awkward parts between the interviews, it's going pretty well.
Yeah. And one of our favorite things about the awkward part between the interview, which we're just learning how to love given that this is the third time we've done it, is shout outs to people on the live stream. James H. in Alabama, hello. Alabama, great state, underappreciated. James, good name.
Good. Steve's a good name too, and Steve is in New Zealand watching us, all the way from New Zealand.
You know it's the dead of summer in New Zealand?
I didn't know that.
We should move this conference probably to New Zealand.
Sounds like a long airplane flight. Tall guys don't like airplane rides.
True. I don't know what that's like because I'm not a tall guy. But Steve, if it's like cold there or something, please don't say anything. That'd be great. Justin M. in Illinois, another great Illinois person. We love Illinois. That's a state that starts with the letter I.
That is definitely a state that starts with the letter I. You know what state doesn't start with the letter I? North Dakota. And Rick H. is in North Dakota watching us right now. Probably excited we said his name. Also a little uncomfortable because we don't really know what to talk about.
Yeah. Do you think Rick H. is a nice person?
Probably. I mean, chances are.
Pretty good. Yeah, I agree. It's probably
Unless
a good bet.
Twitter. Did my voice crack?
Yeah, a little. Do you have some deep-seated thoughts you'd like to share about Twitter?
Nope.
Who does? No one does. It's a great place that we all love. What you need to know right now is that Zach is going to have a break, and I am going to stay on the live stream and talk to you. But it turns out that recently I was actually thinking about just stories that I could tell if I just had to stare at the camera and chat. So one fun fact about me, I actually did an interview with Donald Trump a little while ago. I know, it's crazy.
We just sat here, like now I don't even have a mic.
It's okay. Zach will have a chance to ask me questions or whatever that means to him about it later. But for now, yeah, I interviewed Donald Trump about agriculture and rural issues when I was the Washington bureau chief at RFD TV. And Zach's probably going to ask me more about it later, but in the meantime, we're actually going to show you what it looks like out on the trade show floor here at Farmer2Farmer 2019. So much energy, so much excitement. Can't wait to see you back in a few minutes. This is going to be a chat. I can ask you questions. If there's a silence, I will prompt you. I will continue the conversation forward. But if you guys have questions for each other, if you guys want to redirect and say, like, they have something really interesting to say, like, I want to, like, this is what I have to say about this, and then also, pass it around. It's a chat. We're just chatting up here. 15
There it
minutes is going to go by in a flash. I expect evidence of every one of the 115 years.
Yes, I actually colored my hair yesterday or last week to make for sure.
My hair is gone. What's that tell you?
Yeah.
That's what you were thinking.
Not that exact instant, but now I'm ready.
Where do we look during this?
Look at each other.
Oh, we look at
and
her.
me.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Farmer2Farmer 2019 live stream. Thank you so much for bearing with us as we figure this thing out as we go along. It's been so fun to have you here. Almost as fun as it's going to be to chat with my next three guests, who all happen to be agronomists, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. I'm Holly Thrasher, and I am a senior staff agronomist here at FBN.
I'm Darren Lickfeld. I'm the head of agronomy, so I put together a team of agronomists like you see these fine folks here.
I'm Leroy Toohey. I'm, much like Holly, a senior staff agronomist.
He tries to be like me.
It doesn't work all the time, but I give it a shot.
And we all try to be like Doyle.
Yes.
Incredible. So basically, a big crux of the conversation we've been having today is that 2019 was a bit of a year, I think we could say. You guys have 115 years of combined experience. I'm sure all of you saw 2019 coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No.
Looked at that crystal ball, and I was like, oh, this is going to get really fun really quick.
Well, it's an example of a year where all the risks associated with being in farming, just came to fruition. I mean, it was like one thing after another kept hitting farmers. And having the ability to talk to experienced agronomists was just really important to our members. And especially an agronomy team that we put together that's independent and unbiased. We're not tied to any particular company, and we give advice that's truly farmers first, and what's best for that farmer. So.
You know, I think one of the things I hear from farmers a lot is, most of the time farmers, I don't want to say don't need agronomists, because you guys are very important, but farmers are agronomists. Farmers know about their land, they know about their seed, they know about their products, but when a farmer needs an agronomist, they need an agronomist. 2019 was one of those years. Talk to me about, maybe share some stories if you can. Was there any way for farmers to manage through this?
There's always a way to manage. No matter what Mother Nature throws at you, the economy, the markets, it doesn't matter. You can manage risk, and the good ones do it. A lot of our members do it very well. Seeds-wise, just as an example, in the spring when it's really wet, saturated conditions, that's a challenge to plant the seed correctly and timely. Some guys had to go out literally in rain and finish planting. And you could kind of imagine, as an agronomist, that's an outstanding opportunity, because we know we're going to get calls on those kind of situations to help them figure out what they can do from that point on. So managing risk is like anything, whether you're working as a nurse or a doctor or as a farmer or as an agronomist, you figure it out over time. You know, I don't want to date anybody, but the older guys know what they're doing for a reason. They've been doing it a long time. And the young guys really lean on those older guys, and I don't mean older agronomists, I mean older farmers. Much like at our crop circle forums, there's a lot of great communication to manage those types of situations.
I want to ask, when you guys are talking to farmers, you literally have advanced degrees, you've spent your life understanding agronomy, and this is something that farmers kind of just have to intuit. There's some data that they can get, there's some things that they can understand about their operations. When you're talking to farmers also have about 45,000 other jobs day to day. What can farmers pay attention to that's manageable from day to day or from week to week? How do you help guide farmers through keeping track of agronomy and keeping that kind of in the scope of everything else they're doing?
Holly, take this one.
Well, they do have a lot going on, and I will say one thing about agronomists. We love talking agronomy, and sometimes it's hard for us not to get down into the weeds of things and maybe.
Is that an agronomy pun?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It kind of is. That's very good.
Agronomy humor.
Didn't even realize she did it.
But get into the weeds of things and really over-explain. And for us to take a step back and realize that farmers do have a lot go on their plate at all times, and really dial it down to the need-to-know information for them to make the right decision on their farm and help mitigate risk for whatever that situation is.
Good example, 2019 started off very wet. Everyone's going to be late with planting. Prevent plant comes up, insurance deadlines are coming. I could get payments, I might not get payments. We started talking about going to cover crops in season. Cover crops are normally done in the fall, so farmers are obviously have a lot of questions about what I could be doing, yet planting a cover crop in June, and well, then you've got to interact with your insurance agent. You got to be looking at what government payments you'd be eligible still to get, what cover crops are available. If I do that, what chemistry can I use on that? It just becomes a quandary in a hurry. So speaking to people with a lot of experience comes in really handy for FBN members. So
absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of kind of new issues that are on the front lines for farmers that, especially as they're trying to manage through some of the uncertainty on the agronomic side. Soil health, cover crops, no-till. How should farmers be thinking through that stuff? Making those changes or, scaling up those changes? What does that calculation look like?
It varies from year to year, and not even so much year to year, but even month to month sometimes. Like Darren was saying, this year earlier in the spring, we all had this great expectation that we were going to have a normal planting season or cycle, whatever normal is in your region. But as things change, you figure out quickly how to mitigate those things. Otherwise, you get buried for the year. Some guys did get buried. They end up taking prevent plant and taking the write-offs, and they just have to do that because they have no other options. But then there's other situations where they end up planting in June and really messing up the timeline the rest of the year. So, whether it's figuring out your soil fertility, your herbicide programs, your nutrient inputs, all of that changes throughout the year. And the good managers, the good farmers can adjust on the fly, much like we do as FBN. We move around a lot as a company. We stay nimble and loose and loosey-goosey, and a lot of farmers had to be that way this year. Most guys don't like being that way. They really want to have a plan and go forward with the plan. But a year like this, that plan was out the window 30 days into the planting season. It really
I'll say each of those inputs, the seed, the chemistry, the fertilizer, none of them acts independently of themselves, right? So if I'm going to plant a conventional corn, untreated corn, what's the chemical program I should be doing with that? What's the fertility program I should be doing with that? Because it depends. If then, if I do this, yes, then I do that.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 2020. It looks like there's going to be another really wet spring. Things look like they... Hot take of the day. No rain in the spring. You heard it.
It was him, not me.
It rained so much in the fall, and then it froze. You don't need any rain.
You're absolutely right, though. Yeah. The winter has already started way too soon for much of the Corn Belt, especially the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They got crops still in the field that they haven't got out, so now they're looking at spring to finish harvest when they should be getting ready to plant. they're going to be out there combining their crop. So yeah, you're spot on. Even if we don't get any more precipitation going forward, there's parts of the country that are already backed up on their plan for spring. Absolutely, it's going to be a real challenge.
So, sell me on why, as a farmer, I should make a plan then. Like, if it's going to get thrown right out the window, why spend a day in the office when I could spend it doing literally anything else? Why do a plan?
You have to have a plan. You truly do.
Well, and Holly, she helped develop a crop plan tool. You want to talk about the crop plan tool?
Yeah, so the crop plan tool is an awesome asset that FBN members can sit down with their account executives and really put together that plan, help you to understand what traits are you planning next year, what crop you're planning, how do you put together the right herbicide plan for each of those fields, and it's a really comprehensive place for you to not only put together what your inputs are going to be, but then also looking at, okay, what is my best case scenario and what is my worst case scenario to really pencil out and find out what your ROI potential may be. So.
Because there's economics built into all that.
Right,
if you did this, here's the cost. If you did that, here's the cost. And the return on that investment, either way, they can calculate it.
And just having that plan in place allows you to be nimble later to make changes if you need to do it. Yeah. That's why it's always important to have a plan, even if it's maybe the worst plan in the world, you've got to have a plan.
You can erase later.
Exactly.
You don't put it in ink.
Sure. Yeah.
With agriculture, last year is always important, next year is always feels like the rest of all time, but we're about to go into 2020, new decade. There's so much science, there's so much data. Technology on the farm is accelerating so fast. As agronomists, what are you paying attention to? What do you think, if tomorrow was 2030, what do you think happened in the last 10 years?
Boy, if I knew that. Well, big data, obviously. Drones, imagery, that is going to continue to improve, especially the satellite imagery side as satellites become more and more powerful. If we can start doing more crop scouting using high resolution imagery, that will help our growers immensely, just to understand what's going on in the field. Because when I was younger, my younger career, I used to walk fields. Nobody truly walks fields anymore. They don't have enough time. So using drone imagery, I think it's going to be the technology side is where our customers are really going to make hay. I really do. That's my part anyway.
Yeah, and I think also using that technology in the breeding pipeline, there's a lot of traits that are coming in the future. I think about also crops in general. Man, where's that going in the future? You know, and that's a question a lot of people are asking. So. It's a big open field for a lot of opportunity.
That's a great point, because we all know as agronomists that we need to start doing more diversification of our crops. Yep. Doing this corn, soybean rotation year after year, or corn on corn on corn over and over and over is not good for the soil. It's ultimately not good for the environment. So we need to get back to the alfalfas, the oats, the small grains, and somehow get markets set up so growers can actually get into that. Because right now they don't have, a lot of areas don't have markets for that.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if you talked to our regenerative ag people yet, or sustainability people. Maybe they'll be on tomorrow. But
real aggressive air quotes around regenerative there. I think there might be some skepticism that we need to dig into.
I'm all for sustainability. But I've often said it needs to be, what is sustainable is for farmers to stay in business. Because if we put a bunch of practices on them that cost them more money in an economic time that they're already very squeezed, that's not sustainable. So we're really fortunate here in FBN, we've got a group, a regenerative agriculture group, who's looking at if a farmer does this more environmentally friendly practice, if they improve the water infiltration rates through their soil, if they improve their organic carbon contents, then they could actually sell that crop for a premium through some food processor or to some consumer who's going to desire the fact that this was grown under more sustainable methods. That doesn't really exist quite yet, but I think it's coming, probably in 2 to 3 years, not 10. And a company like FBN, fortunately, where we can bring and make those connections happen, the consumer all the way back to the farmer, better than anybody. So I'm looking forward to that.
Let me throw you guys a real curveball here, because I hear a lot about regenerative agriculture, and one of the things that I hear is two things that on the science side people are excited about. More perennials, deeper root systems, better for the soil.
Yeah.
You can unpack that as you will, and more diversity at the same time in the field. So we do, like, crop rotations are a great way to diversify crops over time, but it's kind of shortening that time scale so you have different crops in the field at the same time. All farms are going to be regenerative in 2030. Hot take. What do you guys think?
All is a big word.
I would never say all. I would never say I guarantee anything, but there's going to be more. We used to be that way. There used to be so much more alfalfa, which is a deep-rooted crop. Cover crops are hoping to get that deep root, and if we can get 2-for-1s in a season where we do a short season crop and then come back with a second crop, and in many parts of the country we can't do that. The upper climates, no, we can't do that. But I think that's going to be a big mover of the needle going forward, and that's where your soil structure and you're improving your soil in general helps to come in, is that diversification. So all in by 2030. I'm not there, but there will be the needle heading that way.
There's a generational change happening in ag, right? And more educated, the younger next generation is more embracing of certain things, taking on a few more risks. But if we can help manage that risk, I think it'll be embraced. Maybe not 100%, Sarah, but pretty significantly.
If not that, then what is your in one word, or maybe like 2 or 3 words, what is your dark horse agronomy thing that's like, people don't see it now, but it's going to be huge?
I got this. We got to get way away from just a 2-crop rotation, right? When you go up and go into other places in the world, they're rotating 4, 5, 6 crops. You just got to go across the border into Manitoba, and they're rotating 5, 6, 7 crops. And when I talk to folks from the I-states and the U.S., it's corn and beans, corn and beans, corn, beans, beans. So that's not very diverse in my
and that's
mind.
where the market is, unfortunately. We got to get those markets in more regions so farmers can actually get more diversified. It's a catch-22. Yeah. We need to do this, but we don't have the market on this side to bring it all together. And until that happens, it's a hard change.
What do you think?
I think so.
What's your dark horse? Agronomy.
I think that's a good one.
Do you have a different one?
No, I think that's a good one. I mean, it's not like nobody's talking about it because, well, okay, another one is nutrient management. I'm on the Mississippi River watershed, which most of the country is in agriculture. That our phosphorus and our nutrients ending up in the river and ending up in the Gulf. We all know that there's problems there. Many of the land-grant universities are working on plans right now. Many of them were supposed to have their plans done here in the next year or two. Many of them won't have their plan done, but that's going to be another big one. I think in 10 years, we could potentially see restrictions. There's some restrictions already in some states for nutrients. I think there's going to be a lot of states having restrictions on nutrient inputs.
Absolutely.
Tell me what the consumer wants in 2030, and I'll tell you what the producers are going to be geared towards.
Smart answer. Right answer. Correct answer. Thank you guys
ding,
again.
Ding, ding, I win the day, right?
Thank you guys again so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
The FBN agronomy team is very impressive, and it's so cool to talk to you guys. I'm going to let you go. Get back to farmers. Get back to having those discussions.
Right.
Can't wait to hear what the conclusions you draw. I'm sure all of you are going to have about 1,000 new ideas coming away from here about things that farmers are looking for.
Sounds good.
Thanks again for
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for
You guys are
having us.
awesome. We have a few more shout outs. While I am just chatting, you guys actually can go ahead and get your mics off if you want to do that. In the meantime, we're hanging out, just you and me again, live stream. I have some shout outs. Tony in Indiana, another state that starts with the letter I, Indiana. Maybe you're near Indianapolis. I went there for the National FFA Convention many, many times. That's most of Indiana that I've seen. Stephen in England, hello from across the pond. Sorry about Brexit. Erin S. from Saskatchewan, hello from Canada. I hope you saw our earlier segments about Canada. They were interesting. Sorry about the mean things I said about Canada. I'm just nervous. Nicholas D. from Vermont, Vermont's a great state, but what are you guys doing up there? I don't really know anything about Vermont, and it feels like you're flying under the radar in an interesting way, so well done. Lots of dairies up there, lots of senators from there who are running for president. Otherwise, yeah, I hear there's great farmers markets. It's right next to New Hampshire. I think maple is happening. Oh no. Oh no. Something is happening over here and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Everybody see this terrifying cutout? I'm sorry I had to do this.
I don't know, how is one supposed to react to a giant picture of their own face? Hold on. Also, yeah, this is really not fair because I'm not the only person with these cutouts. I think I hypothetically know a farmer from Minnesota who also has a big cutout, and it feels really unfair that they brought up mine and no one else's.
You had the opportunity when the YouTube or the social media panel was up here. You could have gone and grabbed the other ones.
I could have and I shouldn't. It was a huge missed opportunity that I will always regret.
Another missed opportunity.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
I got it.
Look at that.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at this. Actually, I don't know if you guys can tell from the live stream, but his is much bigger than mine.
Yeah, what's with
Zach
that? Do I have a
Johnson's
huge
head is so much bigger. It's so big. Look how big it is. It's huge. This is what YouTube does to you. This is a PSA about YouTube farming. It's a real issue in the ag industry.
It
Zach,
really
maybe
is.
you'd like to
It's,
say a few words.
It's really sad that it came to this and that Sally thought it was necessary to create these things.
I hope she at least got a Groupon. I heard that there was a Groupon for these at some point. I'm sure it's possible. But yeah, how was your break, Zach?
The
What'd
break
you do?
was good. Break
Talk
was
to any
good.
farmers?
Because I was afraid that I'd get stuck out there, so I stayed behind the curtain here.
I've gotten stuck many a times.
Yeah,
in
and
a
I knew
buddy
I had
seat.
to come back on, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to get stuck.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go get stuck real soon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna listen to Marcus Luttrell talk. I believe Charles is gonna do some opening for
Yep.
him.
I've heard about that.
We can harass Charles.
Yep.
Sort of heckle
From
him.
here at the live stream. But in the meantime, we're actually going to move forward, do some signing off, but we want to remind you guys that the live stream is back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. So be here, join us. We're going to be here.
We're gonna talk to Sonny Perdue.
We're going to talk to Sonny Perdue.
Yeah.
So if you have heard about a little trade agreement called the USMCA, we'll be chatting about it.
I can't wait to learn.
I've heard there's 2 North American neighbors that we care about trade-wise, so we'll be here chatting about that. Please come back and join us, and then we'll be live all day tomorrow, talking to farmers, talking to experts, taking you to Farmer2Farmer without having to leave wherever you watch your TV from.
Yeah, without getting to be here in Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe it's warm where you are, who knows? It could be England, but we just want to let you know that the live stream will be continuing for a few more minutes after we sign off here at the desk. You're going to see kind of the opening ceremony, so to say, here at Farmer2Farmer by Charles Barron, and then we'll be signing off for the day.
Yeah.
Zach, I have a really important question for you.
This again?
Do you know any jokes?
No.
Okay, so that was the whole question.
That was it?
Not even one?
I feel like I should have had one ready, but I don't. I have some jokes, but I don't think I should tell any of those ones right now.
Okay, we'll save them for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you'll be back with us, obviously.
They'll be back from the comfort of their own pajamas. They get to experience a little piece of Farmer2Farmer 5.
Absolutely. It's all happening here in Omaha in the year 2019 at Farmer2Farmer.
Thank you for clarifying the year.
We'll see you guys tomorrow, but until then, stand by for more from the live stage.
I'm Ron Burgundy. maybe the wheels will fall off tomorrow. It'll be like, everything I said about him last night, I just
And that's when I'll just push you off the stage and I'll be like,
that would make good. Like,
anything for views.
anything for views. Ratings.
Ratings, yeah. Butts and seats, eyes on screens. Yeah, yeah, it's Ed. Oh. So I can give it to Ed too if I see it. Yeah. If you see him, tell him I have it. Okay.
Sally, we're good. 7 a.m.
Hey. Hello, everyone. How about that incredible video? It's really amazing. That was taken on a number of your farms, actually. Well, welcome to Farmer2Farmer. This is incredible to see you all. And there's one way we always kick this off, okay? So I want you to say farmers first, but when you do it, pound the table, okay? Don't spill your drinks. Pick your drinks up. Don't make a mess. But but make them hear you. Make them hear you. All right, ready? So when I say farmers, you pound the table. Ready? Farmers first. There we go. All right. Well, welcome. All right. So welcome to Farmer, guys. I'm Charles Barron. I'm one of the co-founders of FBN, and I'm going to be your host over the next couple days as we host what is now the largest and best Farmer we've ever had. So thank you all for coming out. Now, how many people is this your first Farmer2Farmer? Say aye. Aye. All right. And how many people have been here before? Say aye. Aye. All right. Well, welcome back. And I hope that you make many new friends and greet old ones as well. One of the awesome things has been the tradition. You know, I hope everyone's done with harvest. If you're not, I hope you turned off your combine and you don't got anything going on back at the farm. But it's really become an awesome tradition here in December. You're done with the year. You get to blow off some steam. We're going to have some serious conversations in the next couple days about ways to improve the farm. But thank you all for coming and coming back. And I know you traveled far. We have a really big contingent of Canadian farmers here tonight. Can all the Canadians in the room say aye? Aye. There we go. All right, guys. Well, welcome. Welcome. Let's give a round of applause to all the Canadians. Great. Great. All right. Thanks. Thank you for coming. You know, our Canadian team said, all right, are we really doing this in Omaha? Because all our guys are saying, how about Florida? You know, so I said, well, okay, but Omaha, you're already getting 40 degrees from Saskatoon, so welcome to Florida, okay? So we're really, really glad you could be here. Okay, now, as impressive as that is, I wanted to highlight some of the trips that some of y'all made to get here, because we really thank you for spending the time. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge someone. Is Ray DePriest here? Is Ray DePriest actually here? There he is. Give a round of applause for Ray DePriest. Ray DePriest farms in Palmer, Alaska. Okay, and he has come all the way here. So this is like Costa Rica then from Alaska. So thank you, Ray. That's a long way away. I don't even know how you got here. Okay, now 2 days ago, we put it up on Instagram and Twitter. We asked you, tell us about your trip. Tell us about your journey to Farmer2Farmer. You never know what you're going to get when you put something out to a group of farmers on social media. Turns out, you guys have a lot of time on your hands in machinery, and you got some comedic geniuses in the group. So without that introduction, let's play the video. Whoops. Let's see. Can we play the video? So give a hand to all those guys. And if you see him, say hi. I know Carl Dodge is actually wearing that shirt, so he wasn't lying. He's here. I saw him. He's wearing that shirt. You know, it's always, you never know what you're going to get when you put something on social media, but like I said, you got a lot of time in the cab, and you got a lot to think about, and a lot of creative geniuses out there. I am sorry to disappoint. This is not the farmersonly.com convention also. Would you like it to be? Because we can try and get them as a sponsor next year. And if you want us to do that, maybe we'll finally move it to Vegas. We're never moving it to Vegas, okay? Everyone always asks me, when are you going to do it in Vegas? We're never going to do it in Vegas because you wouldn't show up. You would just go to the casino. So we're not doing it. One thing I want to note about Farmer2Farmer this year, you're going to hear this throughout the event, but that is the FBN app and the FBN community. It's a new product we released. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. But if you haven't downloaded the app, or you're stuck on your password, or you're something, fix it. Take your phone out, fix it, because that is the best way to follow along with the action. There's going to be posts, people are going to be talking, and you're going to be able to follow all the action. So take your phone out. If you haven't downloaded the app, download the app, and you can text FBN to 326-326, and we'll send you the app. The app's going to have the event agenda, the show schedule. It's got a map in there, and then it, of course, has the FBN community and all the FBN product. But we loaded a special Farmer2Farmer feature in there for you, so please make sure you got the app set up on your phone. And another reason is that tomorrow morning we're going to have Secretary Sonny Perdue here, and he's going to be here at 8:15 in the morning, making an announcement, making a speech, and he's actually going to take a couple questions from the FBN community. And the way to get your questions is to post them on FBN community. There's a thread going right now. You can see there's already 27 or so questions you guys have sent in. So add your voices, vote on the questions you like. We're going to get to take a couple tomorrow from the secretary. So with that, I will stop talking. Now tonight is a very, very special night. Every year we start Farmer2Farmer, and we try to make sure that you get a chance to hear about something that doesn't have to do with farming, right? We're going to talk a lot about farming in the next couple days. And we know this year was a tough year. Some of you had floods. We had a late planting. Some people were planting well into June. People are harvesting today. A number of folks couldn't be here because they're still harvesting. It was a tough year. And sometimes it's just helpful to remember, you know, all the perseverance and grit that it takes to run your farm, put it in perspective about how other people have dealt with situations that are really sometimes even unimaginable, and how they persevered through those situations. Because I don't have to tell you how much perseverance and grit it takes to run a farm. So with that, we would, in honor of Marcus's talk here tonight, we would like to recognize Farmer Veteran Coalition, who's been here every year, and we thank them for their participation. And I'd like to, thank you. They are here. And we'd like to acknowledge any active duty, reserve, or veterans. Would you please stand and be recognized by the crowd, if there are any military members in the United States. Thank you. And Canadian and active from Canada as well. Thank you for your service. Well, thank you, and thank you all. And it is an honor to welcome our speaker, Marcus. His story is incredible. I won't say any more, but it's really mind-blowing. So with that, let us start the video.